Hey guys, welcome back to another Diesel and Iron live stream. So we skipped last week. In fact, here I am already forgetting stuff. Let me click these on so you guys know who I am. First of all, welcome guys. I'm thrilled to death that there's already chat going on over here. So Dozer Dennis, AP from England, appreciate you showing up, man. James, as always. Jay's Excavating, Full Throttle Excavating. Appreciate you guys being here like from the get-go. That's awesome. So the first thing before conversation really gets rolling, as you guys know, I've kind of started these with a topic of some sort. Tonight I kind of wanted to talk about the brotherhood that we've all got. And I want to come at it from two angles. So I want to come at it first of all from the new guys coming into the brotherhood of being in construction as one of the operators. So the brotherhood, I mean, when you enter into this industry and you decide that you're going to take the path of hard labor, you're going to take the path of being out in the elements, you're going to choose that over a cushy office job somewhere, welcome to the brotherhood. You're part of it. You are one of us at that point. It doesn't matter how green you are. It doesn't matter if you have no experience. You have made the choice to be part of this family that spends our days toiling and building and constructing, and you need to feel a part of that. Excuse me. And so that's a really awesome aspect of this industry. That's one of the aspects of this industry that I really love, is that you're a part of a tribe because you chose a path, and it's not something that you were just born into. It's not some privilege that you were just given. Like, you chose to be a part of this family. Now I want to flip over to existing operators, because as existing operators, we really love to throw around the term brother, and we really like that term brotherhood. And excuse me again. Scotch, I'm telling you guys, I get into the scotch, and I'm sorry. We like to throw around the term brotherhood when it's convenient. And I don't want to rule this out as not being a sisterhood too, because there are a lot of female operators, and I absolutely want to include you girls as well. But that family aspect, we really like to throw around when it's convenient. But we're also very quick, and this is an unfortunate part of the industry, we're also very quick to criticize guys for not knowing anything and thinking of them as punk kids. Sorry, I'll learn how to speak English here shortly. And that's something that I really want to address, because like a real family, like a family that you're born into, sometimes you get stuck watching the baby. And as operators, as guys who have been in this industry, instead of getting irritated with the baby for not knowing anything, sometimes it's your responsibility as the older brother to be patient, to be kind, and to teach. And that's something that we forget a lot as the seasoned veterans on the crew. We kind of expect all of these guys to come into the industry knowing at least basic knowledge. And the fact of the matter is that's not the case these days. And we're really quick to call them out on that and call them idiots. And don't get me wrong, it's okay to razz the new guys, and that's a part of this industry. It's kind of a tradition that you kind of go through that hazing process, and I'm not saying that needs to go away. But there's a difference between the kind of friendly hazing, the weeding out process that guys go through, versus we've all worked with them. The operators that just have a chip on their shoulder because you're the new guy that doesn't know anything. And I'm sorry, but you don't get to call yourself a brother on one side, but then not help your fellow brothers, even if it's the green guy that doesn't know anything. If you're unwilling to help the family, you don't get to throw that term around. It's not a thing that goes both ways. So all that to say, I really want to kind of stress that if we're going to really call this a brotherhood, which I think we should, man, it's so awesome that we've all chosen this path and we're all in it together and we're all working hard together. But that goes both ways, and you got to be a brother on both ends of the table. And that's where I'm going to really ask you guys, as seasoned operators, as seasoned veterans, to step up and do your job as the older brother, to bring the younger brothers into this and coach them along and help them. So that's my soapbox for tonight. I'll get off of that soapbox. Let's flip over here to the comments here. We've already got good conversation going on. Alan, good to see you, man. Let's talk about Kentucky. Kentucky was a disaster. So I went down there. For those of you watching who don't know what was going on, I had a trip scheduled last week to go down to Kentucky. I had gotten in touch with a guy that had a 963 track loader that he was going to let me run. That's been a goal of mine since I've been in the industry, to get into the seat of a track loader. We don't have them really up here in Michigan because of soil conditions. So I was finally, for the first time in my career, I was going to go down and run a track loader. I was so pumped. We get the Airbnb booked. My folks actually, who are out in Nebraska, they flew in. They were going to fly in to spend time with my kids, their grandkids, while Dad was out running equipment. And so my parents have plane tickets booked and everything. Like, everything is set up. And I've confirmed with this guy multiple times, even on the phone, that we're going to go forward. And so we get 4 days out from the trip, and this guy says, yeah, give me a call and we'll talk details. And then he stops answering his phone. And so I'm like, okay, maybe he got busy or whatever. So I left him a voicemail the next day. No answer. Left him a couple of Facebook messages. No answer. Left him another voicemail towards the end of the week. No answer. So here we are, Thursday before the trip. We're going down on Saturday. I can't get a hold of the guy. So I was like, okay, well, let's go into like backup mode, and we'll see. Maybe I can schedule some other company that will let me come run one of their pieces of equipment. So I spent all day. Let's see here. This was Friday, and we were leaving the next day to go down there. Spent all day Friday. I called like 30 different businesses, and no one was comfortable with me running their equipment, which is understandable. I don't blame them at all. That's for some weirdo off of the internet to call randomly to run a piece of equipment. I totally get that. And so we go down there, and I have no plan. Like, my plan is to try to find some equipment running in action, and we'll just get some content. Turns out, as you guys may have seen in the news, if you didn't also experience it, that was the week that they got all of those snowstorms through, and so everything shut down. So my backup plan to get all this footage totally fell through because nothing's running. Everything is under ice and snow. So I was like, oh, okay. So my backup plan is now, okay, I'll tell you what I can do. We're in the middle of downtown Louisville. I'm going to go out at nighttime because we've got this snowstorm moving through, and it was like a good snowstorm. They were supposed to get like 4 inches for them, which was a lot. And so they're going to have everything out in full force in the downtown city area. I'm right downtown. I'm going to go out and get some awesome nighttime footage with all the city lights, get some drone shots of the empty streets. You know, I had a really cool video in mind that was going to do really well. So, because of all of the snow and everything, my parents were actually 4 hours delayed with their flight, which that was a whole other headache that this thing caused. So I was like, okay, I'll get my family put down to bed because I was going to wait up for them. There was a possibility I was going to have to go pick them up because the rental car might not have been available. And so I put my family to bed. I get my camera. You know, I've got this really nice camera. I gear up with all my cold weather stuff. And I go out the front door of our Airbnb, and here's 3 cop cars on this end of the road, and there's 3 cop cars on this end of the road, and then there's 2 officers, and I'm not even exaggerating, like 60 feet from the front door of our Airbnb with flashlights looking at the ground. And I was like, okay, I already know what's going on, but I will at least talk to one of the officers and confirm before I totally give up. So I walk over, I said, hey, can I ask you a quick question? I said, I'm assuming you guys aren't searching the ground for a contact lens. And he goes, nope. He goes, we just had a shooting here. I was like, fantastic. I said, I'm from out of town. Is it safe to walk the streets at night in the downtown area? And he goes, well, we just had a shooting here, and that's all I'm going to say. I said, okay. So I turned around and went back into the Airbnb. So there goes backup plan out the door. So, I love you guys, but I'm not going to get myself shot for some snow plowing footage. So from there, I had a backup plan of maybe I can go get some parking lot footage of some guys just plowing parking lots the following day after the snowstorm passed. And so I went out the following day. We went and grabbed some lunch. And I found a parking lot with a guy plowing it. I'm just getting ready to get out of the car, and all of a sudden my stomach just like it was one of those bugs where it goes from 0 to 60 in the span of about 30 minutes. And so I ended up putting my camera gear in the bag. I went back to our Airbnb, and I ended up being freaking dog sick for the rest of the day. Ended up puking my guts out at 7:30 at night, spiking a big old fat fever. And the beauty of it was, this is our last full day in Louisville. I don't get another opportunity. I'm sick as a dog the rest of the day. By the next day, it was a 12-hour bug. By the next morning, like, my stomach's a little off still, but I'm totally fine. And we've got perfect sunshine, so things were actually starting to fire up the day that we left. So all that to say, Kentucky was a total, complete failure. I've got a video that I am currently editing that's going to be totally different than any video I've ever done because it has zero equipment. It's literally me documenting this whole experience because it was such a complete and utter failure. So that's Kentucky. I didn't get anything worthwhile out of Kentucky. So I hope that answers your question, Alan. It was not the best trip, but we had a good time. You know, we literally sat around the Airbnb with my folks because everything was closed down. I mean, even restaurants, we couldn't go out to eat. We couldn't do anything. We went out to eat for 2 meals, and we walked around Bass Pro Shop to keep the kids busy because those were the only things open. So anyway, James, Alan said hi to you guys. I think both of you. Let's see here. Digging deeper. What's happening, man? Thanks for coming out. I don't know that you've ever been in a live stream before. I don't think, but good to have you. Dozer Dennis, I completely agree with what you stated up here. I know I'm a little behind here with all my chatting, but yeah, great operators never stop learning. You realize that you never actually achieve some pinnacle god tier of operating status. As a good operator, you're never an expert. A lot of other people underneath you think that you're an expert, but you yourself never feel like an expert because you always recognize there's room to grow. And I'm with you. That's what really irritates me about these guys that really dog on new guys getting into the industry and treat them like garbage for not knowing anything is why? I mean, you're still learning as the old guy on the job site. Sorry, I keep meaning to silence my phone and I don't do it. But yeah, you're learning too. So why are you going to dog on the new guy who, and let's be honest too, the new guys getting into this industry, they didn't have to get into this industry. They could have chosen an easy, cushy office job, but instead they chose to be out here on the job site sweating right along beside you. So why do you have the audacity to jump down their throat when they ask you a question because they don't know anything? So again, that's a little bit of a soapbox for me. Just that's one of the aspects of this business that really needs to change. So let's see here. So Alan, I apologize. I think I've been spelling your name right when I reply to you in the comments, but it's one of those things where I always double guess myself on the spelling, and I'm also really lazy, so I don't go to other threads or other videos to see and double check the spelling, but I think I've been doing it right. So by the way, tell your son Noah, I believe it's Noah, hello. James, you said it perfectly. Yeah, I said it 5 times longer than you did. You summed it up in one sentence. You're exactly right. Dozer Dennis, that's awesome. That's great. Man, we need more vocational schools that actually get students doing real job site work. I've talked about it in these live streams before that one of my beefs with a lot of the vocational schools and tech schools is they spend so much time focused on what an excavator is and what a dozer is and what the difference is and how they're used differently, and get into real world stuff. Like, go put some pipe in the ground with your students and show them what the process is. You know, if you want them to run a dozer, yeah, the first day set them up on a flat pad. That's great. Let them learn the controls. The next 2 days, make that thing a freaking bomb shelter. Just make it craters everywhere like the moon and tell them their project is make it flat within 2 hours. They've got to flatten a certain area within 2 hours. That's what the real world is. You don't get a nice flat level pad to start with. So that's awesome that you do on the job training. That's so many programs are lacking that, and it's so critical. What's happening, Nick? What's the good word, buddy? You're up in Canada, right, Nick? I can't remember. Oh, I bet, yeah, that's right. You're up in the, is it Ontario? I can't remember. I bet you guys are getting killer hours with the snow. We've gotten, so when I came back from Kentucky, I had over a foot in the driveway, and then the following night we were supposed to get an inch. It ended up being closer to 2 or 3 inches. I think tonight, actually, we're supposed to get another 1 to 3 inches. So depending on how much it snows, I may try to go out this evening and get some snow plowing footage. of some companies up the road here. We'll see what happens. I don't know if it's going to be enough to really justify it. I was kind of sad. So we go down to Kentucky to get the footage. I don't get any footage, but while I'm in Kentucky, we miss the foot plus snow that we got here, which would have made awesome snow plowing footage that I could have gotten. So yeah, this trip, it was something else. James, yeah, exactly. We're just getting hammered with snow this year. It's like we were in this big snow drought, and it waited and waited and waited, and now that it's here, it's just pounding us. So, Dylan, when it comes to specific schools, I'm not going to be the guy, simply because I don't have a lot of school contacts. But you're saying the Northeast, Dozer Dennis up there said he's up in the New York area, upstate New York, so you might talk to him. It sounds like he's got a pretty good program. If he's doing on-the-job training, I would actually really point you to him, because you're going to get a much better education there than you will just doing book work. So that's what I would say is maybe start up a private conversation with him off to the side. And it's awesome if you guys hook up here in the comments. That's exactly what I want to happen with this live stream. Let's see here. Little Finkel, absolutely. Humility is, good God, I tell you, the guys who come out on the job site and talk about what a fantastic, amazing operator they are, I've said this before, those are always the guys that get run off the job within a couple days. It's always the guys that, yeah, I'm an awesome finished dozer operator. I do amazing work. No, you don't. You're a shit operator. It's obvious every time they go out. All right, I'm putting the phone on silent, guys. I'm sorry. Most of the time it's only one message, but apparently tonight they want to chat, so we're going full silent. So anyway, let's see here. AP, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's always the guys that come out of the gate flying their mouth off the handle that can't actually operate. And you start to learn, and I've told this to a lot of younger guys that I've gotten into the industry, is you be real careful what you say when you walk onto a job site, because it's whatever you say, you have to back up or you look like a complete ass. And so it's better to undersell yourself and overperform than it is to oversell yourself and then not be able to back it up, because one makes you look like an ass, one makes you look like a superstar. And honestly, at the end of the day, I've never known anyone that looks at, or even a really, really, let's say they are a legitimately good operator. I've never known anyone to look at a really good operator that constantly talks about how amazing they are and have a ton of respect for them. Instead, what I see are the guys who respect the snot out of the guy that goes, yeah, I'm an all right operator. And as that guy walks away, everyone goes, no, that guy is an amazing operator. He's one of the best finish graders I know. You know, that's where people have respect for you. It's not when you walk on the job talking about how amazing you are. Yeah, that's what I remember. Montreal, Canada. That's right, Nick. So what are you running up there, Nick? Are you doing a loader, or I can't remember what you said you were running. You were running a pretty good size loader, weren't you? Ooh, yep, Alan, that's it. 2 to 3 more inches. Yep, I think we've got that coming our way. In fact, I was looking at the radar right before I got on here, and it looks like we're about an hour out from our first wave. Wind's already picked up. It's biting cold, so Dozer Dennis, thank you for chiming in on this. And I do want to I want to say this to everyone, and whether you're watching live currently or you are watching in the future sometime and I am no longer live, absolutely pitch in on these comments. I'm going to continue to say this. I've said it in the past. My goal for this live stream is not for me to be the primary source of information. My goal is to establish a community right here in the comments where you guys can help each other out. So Dozer Dennis, I really appreciate you helping the guys out that are asking about trade schools. If any of you guys have comments on any of this stuff, please, I encourage conversation over here in the comments. This is awesome. That's the stuff that excites me. All right, Nick, what is that in freedom units? None of us know what your 5 to 10 cents is other than James, maybe. James, yeah, James is the only Canadian in here other than you, I believe. AP's gonna know what it is. I take that back. You guys are on the metric system. That's right, Dozer Dennis. The guy who doesn't say anything is the one who's seen some stuff. So yeah, how have you guys been? So it's been like a week and a half since we've been on here. And I'm curious what's going on in the world because I've been a little out of touch. 924, that's a decent sized loader. 10 graders, oof. See, Nick, you need to get me some footage of you guys running because I will absolutely throw that up on the channel. 2 to 4 inches in freedom units. There we go. So for those of you watching who haven't been keeping up, 5 to 10 cents. See, I at least got the lingo down. 5 to 10 cents is 2 to 4 freedom units. So that puts it in perspective so that we dumb Americans can understand what the heck is going on here. AP, I'm exactly with you. The fact that guys, we're in this interesting transition period in the industry, I think, where traditionally it's been a generational thing where even if you didn't have a direct family member in the trades, the reason you came into the trades is because you knew someone in the trades that kind of sparked your interest in it, and you've been around it enough that you at least come into it with some common sense knowledge. I actually had this conversation with a guy in one of the comments on one of my videos this past week. It's always been taken for granted that when you come in, you've at least got some basic, we think of it as being in the industry as common sense knowledge. But that's kind of where the industry as a whole kind of has this big blind spot as to where we've been and how fortunate we've been with the people coming into the industry as being green. There's never been a time in the industry, in my opinion, where you've got guys that are coming in with the level of greenness that you see now. And it's because, that generational thing has kind of died off to an extent because college was pushed so hard for so long. A lot of these guys that were in the trades, and again, I'm never going to blame anyone for pushing their kids towards a college education, just because for the generations that really came before our generation, my generation, that was key to making a huge impact on how much work you were doing. It really stepped down the amount of work you were doing physically, but it also, more importantly, that was the difference between making 40 to 50 grand a year or 80 to 100 grand a year. I mean, you're talking 50% more income if you went out and got your degree. So all that to say, I don't ever want anyone to feel guilty that they push their kids towards college, because that for a long time was a big deal. But that being said, we've lost a lot of that generational people getting into the industry and having some fundamental knowledge. And now you're getting guys that are absolutely, and I talk to them on a daily basis. That's one thing that you guys don't really see. I get messages all the time privately and in my email inbox from kids that are wanting to get into the industry. They're hungry to get into the industry. They literally have no idea how to even start. They have no contacts in the industry. They don't know anyone that's been in the industry. And so they're coming in with zero knowledge. They don't even have like the fundamental, like what is a grade rod type stuff or what is a grade stake, let alone how to read one. And so I think the industry has been really, like I said, they've got this big blind spot as to what has really been going on and why the people coming in now, the initial knee-jerk reaction from everyone on the job is to talk about what idiots these guys are coming on the job site, and they got no work ethic. They don't even want to work. Well, if you think about it, they're coming onto the job with zero understanding of what's going on in the trades. They want to get into it, but the first thing they're met with right out of the gate is someone bitching and screaming at them because they don't know what a grade stake is. How are they supposed to know? There's got to be some grace there. And by the way, going back to kind of what I started this with, talking about the whole brother situation, I will encourage new guys to the industry. If you are new and green getting into this industry, one of the big things that the industry is suffering from right now is guys who get their feelings hurt because they get yelled at and then they quit and go someplace else. Like I was ragging on the old timers a little earlier in this about sticking up for the little brothers and helping them out. Likewise, you are the little brother coming into this, and we are a family. You are part of the brotherhood. But part of that is, as the little brother, you're going to take some shit from time to time. That's just part of being in a family. You know, whether it's natural born family or it's part of this brotherhood that we're part of, you're on the bottom rung and you're going to catch some crap for it. And so that's where you got to thicken up. You got to toughen up, toughen up. You got to thicken up your skin. You can't quit when someone yells at you. You can't get your feelings hurt, because at the end of the day, like brothers, the guy doesn't hate you because he yelled at you. He's just, brothers are going to be brothers, and then you get over it, and 10 minutes later, you're talking to each other like nothing happened. And so I'm going to encourage all of you new guys that are watching this, again, whether present or future, stick it out. Even if you got to go calm down somewhere, stick it out and realize that it's all going to be fine. Part of the process of getting into this brotherhood is you're going to take some licks, and that's just, it is what it is, but you got to stick it out. So Nick, I think we talked about it on the last one. Get that gecko mount. If you do the suction cup, get that gecko mount. I think it was 20 bucks, 15, 20 bucks. You won't regret it. It's an amazing mount. Finkel, you're exactly right. Get someone that'll put you in the seat and let you learn and give you some crap. It's okay to catch some crap while you're learning. But give some, the key is you gotta have seat time. Without seat time, you're never gonna learn. I can sit and coach you from the sidelines all day long, but until you're actually in the seat pulling sticks, you're not gonna learn. So LaRue snowblower. I'm not sure, Nick. In fact, let's take a look at that. Hang on just a second here. Make sure I got my browser up. Let me flip you guys to the browser. LaRue. Did I spell that right? Snowblower. Oh, sweet Jesus. I hope that's... Yes. If you have one of those available, you absolutely need to get one of those suckers on camera. I'm dying to get one of these. In fact, I know there's a town around here that does one of those for clearing their main streets. And you absolutely need to get some footage of that. That will make me giddy like a schoolgirl if you can get some footage of that. So Dorian, I tend to agree with you. That has been traditionally, that has been my view as well. And this is where I have to be careful. I want to support the education system for the trades. But traditionally, my view has always been, don't go pay for an education that you can get paid for. And especially with the industry hurting the way that it is, absolutely go get a job and learn on the job, because you're going to get paid, first of all, instead of taking out a big loan and doing it that way. But then also, you're going to get 10 times the education on the job than you would in a classroom. Now, that being said, this is where I got to be careful, because I do want to make part of what I do eventually, as this channel grows and my influence grows, I really want to help revamp a lot of these tech schools and these technical programs, so that the education is worth it for those guys who have decided that's the route they want to go. They would rather do the schooling. They would rather spend some seat time, kind of not with the high, fast pace of being on a job site. There are some good programs out there, and I think with some help from people within the industry, I think there's a lot of programs that could be put together a lot better, so that yes, you are going to pay for the education, but at least you get something solid out of it that's worth your time and your money. So I would say, if it's available to you, I would encourage most guys to go get a job in the industry and learn that way. But at the same time, there are some good programs, and if that's the route you want to go, just do your homework, do your due diligence, and make sure you get into a good program, because I actually have a video coming tomorrow on building a resume, and one of the things I did for that video is I actually called around to a bunch of employers and talked to either the owner of the company or the HR reps, And I had one HR rep specifically, but I had a couple mention it, but one specifically said she actually looks at a trade school on a resume, and it does have an influence on whether or not she hires you as a new guy to the industry that's green. And the logic is, and it makes total sense, if you've invested your time and your money to go learn this trade, that means you're a lot more invested in getting into the industry than someone who's just gonna go try it out by hiring it at this company and giving it a whirl. You know, someone who has spent their money learning at a tech school probably isn't going to quit within the first week or two, versus someone that you're just hiring with no experience. There's a lot higher chance they're just going to quit. So again, I don't want to write it off completely. That's awesome, AP. I mean, that's when you can do the generational thing. I'm one of the guys that didn't do the generational thing. My dad is a banker. The closest I have is I've got some uncles that are I've got one uncle that's an electrician. The other one's kind of been a handyman. He did glass install for auto glass and everything. So definitely blue collar crowd on my mom's side of the family. But as far as a direct contact link with the construction industry, it was just something I've always been passionate about, and so I took the plunge by myself on my own with no experience. So, and that's kind of why I do sympathize with a lot of the guys coming in green, is because I was that guy and I know how rough it is, especially, you know, I came into the industry 10 years ago and guys were rough. I mean, there was not this understanding that guys are coming in with no experience. It was, you better hit the ground running or you're going to get bitched at. And I got bitched at big time. I had one foreman in particular that I was this close to throwing in the towel. I mean, he just ran you into the ground. And so, you know, I'm glad I didn't, obviously, but I have a lot of sympathy and I've got a lot more empathy for guys that are coming in totally green. So, whoo, you guys are picking up on the comments. Dang, I'm getting behind here, which is an awesome problem to have. So, Mike Rowley, what you're talking about right there, let me know. So any of you guys, let me know. One of the things I'm thinking about doing with my website, the dieselandironproductions.com, is I'm going to talk to my developer, is possibly making a job posting board, because I know my channel attracts a lot of young guys that are wanting to get into the industry that don't have any experience. And it also attracts a lot of guys, like we're seeing here in the comments, that are already in the industry and are looking to hire people. And I've heard time and time again, even from guys locally I talk to, I'd rather hire a green guy than a guy with experience because they don't come in with any bad habits. I just need someone that's willing to learn. I come into contact with guys that want to learn every day. And so I'm thinking about putting up some sort of a job posting area on my website to where you as contractors can come in and look for guys within your area, and I can connect you with guys that are in your area that are looking. So if that's of any interest to you guys, let me know, and I might try to start to develop something like that. The only downside I see to it is it's just going to take time to kind of populate, because right now I'm a YouTube channel with about 5,000 subscribers. It's going to be hard to get the word out there that this job site is there and what it's geared towards. So, but I'm totally willing to pursue it if it's going to be worth it for you guys. So let me know if you guys are interested in that. But that's awesome that you're posting that information in here, Mike. Thank you. Adam, first of all, good to see you, man. Secondly, absolutely, trade schools for a long time. Dirty Jobs was on when I was in high school, and that was, Micro is one of my role models, and that's really kind of, I'm never going to be a micro, but that's really the footsteps I want to follow in. Is my goal is to build excitement around the trades and bring the spotlight back to the trades, that we're not an alternative to people who can't make it in college. That is such a load of crap. The trades are a viable option where you can actually make money, a lot more money than a lot of college graduates. And unfortunately, we just haven't gotten the spotlight over the last 15 to 20 years because college has really pulled that direction. So I'm totally with you on that. Yeah, Little Finkel said it exactly. It's in fact, I was talking to a kid this week that he is in an engineering program. He is getting pushed by everyone at school, his family, everyone to stay in the engineering program. And he goes, dude, I don't want to sit in an office all day. That's not what I want to do. And it's obviously you don't want to tell him the opposite of what his family's pushing him to do, but at the same time it's like, dude, go do what you want to do. Go be happy doing what you want to do. And if that's sitting in the seat of an excavator pulling sticks for the rest of your life, do it. And you don't have to be ashamed of that. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, if you're going to make $150,000 a year as an engineer, but you're only going to make maybe 100 to 120 as an excavator operator working your ass off for it, you don't need to apologize for that. That's still a great career. That's still really good money, and you don't need to feel bad about that, and you don't need to let anyone give you crap for it. So, Alan, I'm sorry. If you come back and see this, I'm just getting to you saying you're shoveling your driveway. Thanks for coming up, man. Thanks for the reinforcement. Again, I'm way back in the comments. Thanks, Adam, for the reinforcement on that. Nick, you got to make it happen, buddy. You got to make that happen. The blower, I'd love to have that footage. That would be so amazing. In fact, I wish I had one locally, because I would absolutely film the dog snot out of that. Put my camera right there on the chute where it's coming out. Try to get the blower mouth. We could make so many cool videos with one of those. See if they'll ship one down here to Michigan for me. Yeah, Adam, that's the way it was when I was in high school. I got pushed into AP courses. I hated them. Stuck it out. I went to college, started with an engineering degree, absolutely hated it. Did miserably poor. Then I switched over to business because, generic business degree, it's easy. And at the time I thought I was going to go into banking with my dad and make a shitload of money. But I hated it the whole way. And so what ended up happening is I came out of college. I did get my bachelor's degree. It took me 6 years. I took the scenic route, took my time. And I came out of college with $60,000 in debt, partially because I took so long and partially because, unfortunately, I met a very pretty girl here in Michigan, moved to Michigan to be with a pretty girl, and ended up finishing out college at an out-of-state college. So 60 grand worth of debt. But regardless, let's say best case scenario, I was probably going to be at least 45 in debt. And then I went to working in construction, making $15 an hour. And that was how I was going to pay off my student loans. And that was before I got into the higher, areas of it. But at the same time, the other thing I think about all the time is, had I not gone to college and spent 6 years in college, had I gone into construction right away like I wanted to, which, by the way, when I got out of college, I didn't just get into construction either. I piddled around with a bunch of other things before I finally went, I've always been passionate about this. I want to go into construction. So let's call it probably at least 10 years before, from high school to when I actually got into the construction industry. That's 10 years of experience I could have had under my belt, to where instead of making $15 an hour trying to pay off $60,000 worth of student loans, instead I could have been a foreman or a super at that point, and I could have been making probably close to six figures, if not six figures, probably over six figures in all honesty. Well, not over six figures, but probably 150 a year. As a super on some of these bigger projects. 10 years in, that's not unattainable. That's not unachievable. And that's what I kept coming back to, is I wasted all that time because I was told college was the way I had to go, by parents, by school, by guidance counselors, by everyone. So, it's just, that's not true, especially nowadays. It's just not true. So popping back up here, doom. Mike, that's a great point. The requirements to teach are pretty ridiculous. In fact, I would even go a step further. The requirements now for a degree, when my parents went to school, my dad came out with a bachelor's degree, And that was like, you were way ahead of the pack because you had a bachelor's degree. The honest truth is, if you want to be ahead of the pack nowadays, you better have your master's, and it's getting to the point where you should probably be thinking about a doctorate, because so many people are now going to get their master's to separate themselves from the herd. So you're talking 8 years of school just to separate yourself from the herd so that you can go get one of the better management positions that, again, is going to pay you what, 60 grand a year right out of college with no experience? I mean, at what point as a country, and this is even bigger than just the US, at one point as a population do we go, okay, the emphasis being placed on higher education, and especially the prices being demanded for higher education, at what point do you go, enough is enough? So as you can tell, this is another soapbox of mine, so we're getting bogged down. This is a great topic, though. I'm happy we're talking about it, but I do get a little bit on a soapbox on this. Finkel, you're exactly right. If you got work ethic, and I tell these guys that I talk to all the time, show up with work ethic, and you can write your own ticket in this industry. In all honesty, that is the truth. So Dylan, I haven't read down to see if anyone has answered your question, but I will answer it. It depends on where you are at, whether you need a certificate or not. I'm going to speak for here in the U.S. You do not need any sort of certificate. You don't need to have any sort of education. Excuse me. Most places are going to require just a GED or high school diploma, simply because you do use math and you do need to know how to read and everything to get into this industry, because you're going to use those skills all the time. Outside of that, no, you can go hire in at some place, and if the company's willing to let you run their equipment, you could jump in a skid steer or an excavator the first day, and you're not going to worry about getting any sort of ticket or penalty or anything like that. You don't have to have a certification. Generally, certifications, at least here in the US, are going to be kind of the equivalent to forklift certification at Home Depot. I happen to be a certified Home Depot forklift associate, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, that's a document that's totally internal to Home Depot. And likewise, you can go to these tech schools, and they tell you they're going to give you a certified operator certificate at the end of it. That's great. I mean, it's a piece of paper that says you've accomplished whatever their program is, but like, that's not an industry accepted certificate that, oh, this guy really knows what he's doing because he has a piece of paper. Unfortunately, that's not really something that exists here in the States. I think Europe might have it, AP or one of the other guys in that area. You might correct me on that. But here in the US, you don't really have a formal certification that you have to go through. Anything formal is going to be stuff like your OSHA courses. Those are formal certifications. Mine certification courses, those are formal certifications. But as far as just being able to run an excavator, there's no certification needed. James, you're exactly right. The trades in general. So when I was selling equipment, we were dying for technicians. I mean, and it wasn't just us. Caterpillar in this area was hurting just as bad as we were. We were all, I think there were 4 or 5 dealerships in the area here, and we were all just rotating technicians because we were hurting that bad, and it was just this bidding battle back and forth to get tech. So it's all the trades: electricians, plumbers, mechanics, trying to HVAC technicians. That's another one. I mean, just any sort of trade is hurting because college has been pushed so hard for so many years. So I'm actually going to make a prediction here. This is something that my wife and I have talked about. We've talked about possibly building a house in the next couple of years, depending on how well the channel does and how well other things do. And I told her if we do that, we probably should do it in the next probably 5 years, because my prediction is, and it's slowly starting to happen now, companies are finally coming around to the fact that you can't just offer $20 an hour instead of 15 to operators, technicians, electricians, plumbers. Now you have to offer healthcare. You've got to offer some sort of retirement. You've got to offer like a benefits package to draw these guys in, because the truth of the matter is, there's so few workers in the industry that this has been an interesting dynamic and power shift. Employers need employees more than employees need the employers, and that has been a total 180 from the way it has traditionally been. And so what's happening is employers are starting to go, oh, I actually have to put some real effort in to get these guys. And so they are starting to offer benefits. They are starting to offer retirement. And so what that's doing is that's driving the costs up in the industry. And so my prediction is probably within the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see the trades across the board when it comes to building a new construction, whether it's home, office building, road. Your costs are going to go up dramatically because that is the demand that the employees are putting on the industry. And that's not going to, you talk about economics, overall economics of supply and demand. Right now, the demand is for workers. And until the supply kind of catches up with that demand, the price that these guys require is just going to keep going up. And it's going to, think about how long it's going to take for that pendulum to swing back over to focusing on the trades, because that's where the money is. We're probably talking another 10 to 15 years before the pendulum even really starts to swing. So all that to say, I kind of predict within the next 5 to 10 years, building costs are going to go up pretty substantially. Adam, sorry, I know this is way back. I am drinking scotch. This is Monkey Shoulder, which is the off casks from Glenlivet, Belvini, I believe, and there's one other that I can't remember, and it's all of their off casks, and they blend them together and age it for, I think, 3 years. It's really good for the price point. It's unbeatable. So a bottle of this is, I think, right around $32, $34, but it tastes like you're drinking, I don't want to say it too boldly, but it tastes like you're almost going with like a 12-year Glenlivet. I mean, it's really good stuff. It's got a little more bite to it because it hasn't aged quite so long, but it's good stuff. And that's why over the course of this, I'm going to start talking, more slow, and I'm going to loosen up a little bit, so. Nick, I'm not coming to Montreal. Not this time of year. I'm sorry, brother, but it ain't going to happen. I'm a Texan. I am from Texas originally. I have very thin blood, and when it gets into that sort of weather, it just freezes solid. So this is about as far north as I'm going to go in the dead of winter, unless I put on like a snowmobile suit, but I refuse to do that because I'm not going to pay $150, $200, $500, whatever those ridiculous suits cost, to go out in the middle of winter to be tolerable. So Dante. I'm sorry, I can't talk. That's awesome. 2 weeks away at College of the America. That's awesome. Welcome to the club, man. That's really exciting that you're getting close. Keep us posted on where you get placed and what you end up doing. That's awesome. Nick, you're only 20. God, there's so many young guys in here. You're making me feel old, man. Yeah, Nick, college was terrible. I'm not gonna lie. For everyone talking about how great of a time they had in college, like, I had fun playing poker with the guys and everything, but school was terrible. I hated classes. I skipped probably about a third to half of my classes. Got very fortunate and very lucky and multiple times showing up on test day accidentally, and I'm one of those fortunate people that can just do really well on tests without studying, and that is how I made it through college. In all honesty, I was just by being blessed with that talent right there. That is the only reason I got through college in the 6 years that it took me to do it. So yeah, that's awesome, Adam. So how long have you been at your family's company? And how old are you, Adam? Just out of curiosity. You're not a lady, so it's not rude to ask. Yep, Jay, 100%. COVID's changing the game quite a bit. That's quite a bit. James, that'd be awesome to have the family, the kids take over. So I've got a 4 and a 6 year old. My 6 year old definitely enjoys the equipment, but my 4 year old is he's my heavy equipment junkie. We can drive down the road, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that loader's got a snow box on it," and he's 4. I'm like, "Dude, you got it." So I'm totally with you. Like, part of what I would love to do with this channel is kind of have him start joining me on the filming, getting into the running of the equipment, and he can actually, part of me doing the channel is filming him running stuff. So yeah, dude, the generational thing is so awesome. It's exciting that the kids are into it. Dante, you're a tree guy, man. I'll tell you this. So from selling equipment, there's something I learned that was very unique about tree guys. They're all freaking tweakers. Those are the most like unreliable people. You got a guy that swears up and down he's talking 1,000 miles an hour to you on the phone, and he swears to God he's going to be in and he's going to buy that chipper next week, and he's going to absolutely, I'm getting paid on Friday, I'll be in there first thing Monday, and I'm going to buy that chipper. And then Monday shows up and the guy doesn't answer his phone, or if he does answer the phone, he doesn't have his money because he went and blew it on the weekend on, you know, a little meth. No big deal. Tree guys are nuts, man. So welcome to the calmer, more refined industry of road construction. Oh, Little Finkel. How to read freaking tape measures. Dude, I could use a class on how to read tape measures. So I do woodworking kind of as a hobby. I'm not any good at it, but I do it as a hobby. I swear to God, every time I sit down to do woodworking, I'm like, why the F did we not convert to metric? Like, it is the most irritating thing when you got to take 15 and 7/8. What's half of that? I don't freaking know. Now I got to convert it over and do lowest common denominator shit. I'm like, I have no idea how to convert between those. Metric is where it's at. Metric. Maybe I should do a video on how to read a tape measure, and that way I have to learn it, and then I can also teach it. That's a great way to learn, is to teach. Yeah, so AP, yes. So European standards are significantly different than our US standards. We're a lot more lax over here, and so you do have to have some certifications over there. But again, like he's saying, it sounds like it's more of making sure that you're healthy enough to run the equipment and you kind of aren't an idiot, sounds like. Correct me if I'm wrong there, AP. Adam, I will agree with you there. That's one thing in our current situation, just to catch everyone up, because I'm so far behind here in the comments. He was talking about the unemployment bonuses. That's a hard one, because I understand the idea of needing to stimulate the economy and get some money injected back into the system and get people spending, and it does. You know, people like to spend. But at the same time, there does come a point now where, especially in the construction sector, like, we never really fully shut down. There was like a month and a half in the very beginning where we shut down, and then it picked right back up and it was full tilt. And so I go, well, why are we giving away all this money to these guys to let them sit at home? You know, a lot of cases they'll make more sitting at home than they would running the machine. Go let them run the machine. That's going to stimulate the economy more than having them sit at home and collect a paycheck for free. So no, I totally hear you. So going back up here to the bourbon gang, I am totally down if we start if one of the traditions of this live stream is we sit down with a nice bourbon, scotch, whiskey, whatever you like to drink, even a beer. That I'm all for it. The only reason I didn't necessarily jump at that to begin with is because this is a Sunday night thing, and I know a lot of you guys have to work, so I'm just gonna say, take it easy, guys. You got work tomorrow, calm it down. But we will absolutely do the bourbon thing. I'm down. That's awesome. James, you Coors Light guy. So my brother-in-law is a Coors Light guy. I'm one of those beer snobs. I like the craft brews, but my brother-in-law is a Coors Light guy. And so whenever I go to his place, you know that you're going to down 50 beers because you're drinking canned water. I'm going to give you shit for it. It's canned water, man. You're no flavor there. Come on. Finkel, you're exactly right. It's coming, man. It's coming quick. Sam, I do remember, but sort of. When did we talk? Were you the guy that I talked to? I can't remember exactly. Remind me in the comments when we talked and it will spark my memory. But yes, I do remember talking with you. I just can't remember when we talked. I apologize. I talked to a fair amount of guys. This channel's actually taken off pretty well. I'm pretty excited about it. But one of the downsides, and I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, like this is about the perfect size right now to where I can really, like I have a lot of one-on-one relationships with you guys. I know your names and everything. We're getting to the tipping point to where that I feel like that's going to change. Right now I'm able to respond to every comment. I'm really able to be involved with everyone. And one of my fears with getting too big with the channel is I'm going to lose the ability to have that one-on-one contact with you guys. So my fear is it's coming. I think it's just one of those evils that you can't get around. So we'll see how it goes. So all that to say, Samuel, I do remember you. I just can't remember which guy you are. What did we talk about? Dante, you're going to have a lot easier time in Tennessee than you would in California. It's interesting because outside of a couple of contractors that I've talked to, most of the guys that I've talked to in California say that it's actually kind of difficult to get into the union and stuff out there. So, which is strange to me because I've also heard from multiple people in California that the business is hurting for operators. So I don't really understand that, but I will say you will have an easier time finding work in Tennessee. Now, I don't know what the wage situation is in Tennessee because you are getting a little further south where the unions haven't really had the influence that they have up here in the north. So wages tend to be a little lower. So I am kind of curious. Finkel, so the building costs, the material costs, I think right now that's primarily COVID related, but correct me if I'm wrong on that because I'm not a builder. I'm not directly involved with that, but it seems like most of those costs have come from being COVID related, factories shut down, plants being shut down, stuff like that. I don't know that we're to the point yet that we've really seen the impact on materials costs from the labor standpoint. So 34, Adam, going back to you, 34, been there since 2000. That's awesome. And Nick, yes, tree guys are weird. Yep, Dante. Yeah, everyone. It's even, that was the funniest part of it to me, is tree guys even accepted that they were all tweakers. Like anytime I would say that observation, they would all start laughing and agree. It's like they all acknowledge it's just like whoever just said it. Yeah, Nick. Tree guys are just weird. They're just their own breed of guys. They're fun. I love them. They're fun to hang out with, but they are their own unique breed of guys. Nick, that's interesting that your tape measures are still imperial. That makes no sense to me. Why would you purposely, intentionally carry a tool that makes life more difficult for you? That's the influence of the old good US of A. We're going to continue to stick that thorn right in your side because we can. So going back to the material shortage, I don't know if you guys have heard about the circuit board shortage that's going on because of COVID and delays in manufacturing over in China and stuff like that. I've got a brother-in-law that just got his CDL and he's driving for a car hauler, and he's about to get laid off after only working for him for like 4 weeks because the auto industry is so slow churning out cars because they don't have the circuit boards to go in the cars for the computers. So that's another really interesting thing that's come out of this. That's totally, it's interesting how far-reaching the impacts of COVID are on small areas that you never even think about being affected. So yeah, James, it's the handing out money thing is difficult. It is very difficult. That's just a hard topic because, and I will say this about anything COVID related, I've continued to maintain, I'm just glad I'm not in the seat where I have to make those sort of decisions because those are really hard calls. So Samuel, no, you do not need to go to college to run equipment. We were talking about that earlier. You can literally jump in the seat of a backhoe whenever you want, and no one's going to say anything different. So, so James, you're trying to give me reasons to drink Coors, and what I'm trying to give you is a reason to not drink Coors, and that's for the delicious flavor of real beer, man. Not bottled water with some guy with a little eyedropper of alcohol. I'm saying, like, go get you a solid, like, 6.5% IPA. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, something with some balls, man. Have it kick you in the ass a little bit, and it'll save you a lot of money, because instead of drinking 10 or 20 or 30 of them, like 2 of them, and you're very comfortable and you're happy and warm. Sam, the backhoe. Why am I still not remembering our conversation? The backhoe. Expound on that more. We talked about the backhoe. Like, that rings a small bell, but I still can't place the conversation. But my brain is also fried after the last week I've had. Brett, it is not... It depends on what route you go in Michigan. So I was in a unique position to where I was able to bypass the apprenticeship program. So I had about 3 years of experience when I went to work for a contractor that was a union contractor. And so what they did is, basically, the BA came out of the job and he goes, look, you've got 4 years of experience. I'm going to give you a 30-day journeyman's card. And as long as your employer doesn't come back and say you're a terrible operator and you have no idea what you're doing, after 90 days, you can get your full journeyman's card. So I was able to bypass the apprenticeship program because of my experience. So in that case, I would say no, it is not difficult to get into the union, because they are actually hurting for people. I don't know if you're aware, but what was it, 6 or 7 years ago? Maybe less than that. Michigan became a right to work state. And so that really freaked the union out, because they want people to be in the union and pay dues. So they're actually scrambling to get people into the union. So if you go that route, it's not difficult. If you go into the apprenticeship program, it is going to be a little more difficult, just because, first of all, there is a process you have to go through. You have to do tests. They only accept so many people per year. But then to go a step further, COVID has a lot of places, I haven't asked specifically here in Michigan, but a lot of places, they've just not taken apprentices this year because of COVID. So I'm not honestly sure currently what the state of Michigan is from a union standpoint, and I have a little bit of a beef right now with the union, because I've made multiple calls into them trying to get some interviews to help you guys out, and they aren't really returning my calls, and that's including some contacts that I have going back. So I'm a little irked with those guys right now, but that's just me. That's personal. So my recommendation is shoot me an email. You'll see it flash down here. Shoot me an email at thatdiggerdude@gmail.com and give me your contact information, and I will forward you my BA's, the guy that I know and I've talked to. I will forward you his information, and he would be a great first contact point that you could talk to him about your best route getting into the union, and he would be more than happy to get you signed up if it's possible, depending on what route you're going. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give her hell, Mike. I might have to hire a guy at $10 an hour to sit at a computer and act like me and engage people, and then I'll have the awkward moment in these live streams where you're like, hey, remember that conversation we had a couple days ago? And I'm gonna be like, yeah, I totally remember that conversation, because I was the one typing. So that's what I'm hoping it doesn't come to. Nick, Heineken, man, wow. That is that's a skunky beer right there, brother. I'll drink it, but, like, especially the little mini keg in your fridge, like, that's awesome from a novelty standpoint, but good Lord, is that some skunky beer. That's true, Mike, and that's a good point. That's part of the community I want to build on here. Is I do want it very known in my channel that on all of my videos, I want the community to answer questions as much as I do. This has never been in my intention to have this be a one-man show. This is really this is more of a resource for guys getting into the industry. Yeah, James, isn't that the truth? For whatever reason, the residential side just can't get out of the feet and inches. They just love it too much. That's right, Nick. You got to put a freedom flag wherever you can, and maybe sometimes throw a little screaming eagle on it too. You really got to get that America feel to it. And America. And then you throw back your Coors Light. So, Adam, who were you responding to? Because I totally agree with your statement, but I don't know who that was referencing. But yeah, if you got to... I was actually talking to this kid that was hiring in at a company earlier this week. If you have an intention of being a foreman down the road, even if you're totally green to the industry, but you want to work your way up, tell your employer that when you hire in. Your long-term goal, and make it clear that you're being realistic. Your long-term goal is, I want to be a foreman or a super. First of all, that's going to tell your employer that you're not just some fly-by-night guy. You have a plan. You have an overall plan for your career, which shows that you have vision, you think forward, and that's going to apply to stuff day to day on the job. That also tells them that, hey, let's keep an eye on this guy because we have someone that actually might work himself into that role. So yeah, I 100% tell your employer if you want to move up the chain, make them aware of that. If it's done the right way, it's not you being arrogant, it's not you being cocky, it's letting them know your intentions so that they can help you with that. So see, that's sad, AP. We got to get more guys out in your industry. Is it because of the lack of need, or is it just because of the politics of getting into it? Because I've heard, especially when it comes to the union here in the States, a lot of it has to do with politics because the need is here. The demand for operators is through the roof. The problem is you got industry politics. So, and that really irritates me about the union. I do not like that aspect of the union. Whoo, Cox Landscaping coming in here and dropping the fireball in the coffee. Whoo, yeah, that's gonna fire your day right up. Just don't run any equipment, sir, to be safe. But manage away with fireball in the coffee. It'll make you a better manager. Thanks, Adam. I appreciate that, brother. I really do. I try to put out entertaining content. You know, everyone's got their own opinion and they've got videos on how to run equipment. So I try to do something a little different, add a little flair to it to make it fun to watch. Sam, there's not really, forgive me. I think you're here in the States, right, Sam? I do remember that from our conversation. And if that's the case, to get there is no official license. So if you wanted to go get a certification from a tech school, that's just going to require you going to a tech school, and it's going to be totally dependent on the tech school you go to. Some tech schools have like a 6-week program that's kind of a step 1 or tier 1 that you'll get, and you're probably looking at around $5,000, somewhere in there. If I had to guess, I could be off on that. Don't quote me on that. I'm totally guessing. But then you've got other schools that it's closer to like a 6-month program where you get certified on a bunch of different things, and obviously your costs are going to go up. You're probably going to be closer to the $20,000 to $30,000 mark if I had to, again, guess. So it really just depends on what kind of certification you're going for. Nick, I will agree for parties, especially when like there's the bring your own beer requirement, but you can sip off of other people's beer if you bring beer. Dude, the Heineken keg, the mini keg is amazing for parties. It is, yeah, super convenient, and you can throw it in the fridge, and then you can go grab one of your buddies, craft brews and supplement. and mostly supplement through the evening with the craft brews. That's my opinion. Oh yeah, that's right, Nick. We especially, yeah, that's a cat. Absolutely. We slapped the freedom flag right on those babies. We are proud. Yes. Good old USA. Bailey's, James, Bailey's. Whoo. That is good in coffee. I will give you that's good in coffee, but I tell you what, you drink too much Bailey's and you have issues where you're going to be visiting the Porta-John a little more often than you want to. But Bailey's is stinking good. I can't do Fireball. That's one of those it's just got too much of that fake sweet to it. It's like the guys that drink, I'm going to offend some of you guys, I know it already. If you drink the Honey Jack, I judge you. I do. That shit is terrible. It's super sugary and sweet. It's alcohol for men who don't like to drink real alcohol. I said it. Rake me over the coals for it, but I said it. Oh, that's good, Brett. So you have talked to Heath already, because that's who I was going to steer you to. Yeah, so what did Heath, just out of curiosity, what did Heath say about getting into the apprenticeship program, and did he say whether you were going to have a hard time with that? That's actually information I'd like to know so I can pass that forward to other guys I talk to, because I honestly haven't been able to get that information out of anyone. I talked to Heath 1 or 2 times since I started this channel. He was supposed to get back with me and he never did, so that's one of my contacts I'm a little irked with. Just saying. Yeah, Adam, 100%. Letting them know that you're there for the long term goes a long way with an employer. And it's, there's always the advantage, too, of starting off on the right foot with an employer as opposed to the wrong foot. If you tell them you're there to learn, you're eager to learn, and you have the desire to be there long term, that's a great foot to start on. Finkel, that's part of the industry right now, man. That's the really crappy part of the industry. Hey, James, hopefully I catch you before you leave. Thanks for stopping by, man. Good luck with the plow, and looking forward to another plow video. Which, if you guys don't follow James Gibson Landscape there, and you like watching snowplow videos, he puts out almost a plow video a week right now, if not 2 or 3, because of how much snow we're getting. So, but yeah, good luck on the plowing, brother. But yeah, Finkel, that's part of the industry right now, is even offering them $2, $3, $4, $5 an hour raises isn't enough to keep guys around. It's a very revolving market of people currently. So, it's not fun. AP, that's unfortunate. And hopefully that will change with time. We have got to open the trades up to where they're more accessible. And in the US, I feel like they're pretty accessible. They're just not pushed. And I feel like we really need to push the trades much better. Because right now, the way that we need to push the trades as much as we're pushing college. And that's simply not the case. Every guidance counselor you talk to is going to steer you to a 4-year degree without fail. So it is what it is. You know what, AP? Start a YouTube channel, buddy. It worked for me. Just start making videos and talk to yourself or to a camera. I'm sitting here with a camera. Like, to you guys, it feels like I'm talking directly to you, especially when I point like this. But to me, I'm sitting in a room that is totally empty, devoid of my big light that's right in my face, which, by the way, I don't smoke weed before I get on these things. I looked at a couple of my old ones, and it looks like I'm high because my eyes are all red. It's because I have this giant light right here. But I'm sitting in this room, I have my desk, I have my big light, and then I'm just pointing at a camera in the room and talking to myself like a crazy person. Like, if you just randomly walked in the door and looked at me, you would think I was insane, so. Nick, oh my lord. Do you carry a purse? Pink Whitney, pink vodka lemonade. Do you sneak that to work in your purse? I've got to ask, because that is the girliest sounding. I'm not saying it's bad. It's probably a great drink and I'd probably love it. But good Lord, when you write it in the comments section, I feel like it comes with a like when you purchase it at the store, does it come with like a little coin bag or something? So Brett, that is a good point. I would highly recommend you hit him up probably, I would say at the end of March here or within the first couple weeks of April. That's when, at least here in Michigan, depending on the weather, that's when employers really start to look for people. The other route I would advise you is, instead of trying to get straight into the union, try calling some of these contractors directly and explaining your situation. Say, look, hey, I'm totally green to the industry. I want to learn the trade. I don't mind starting at the bottom. Are you guys hiring for the season? And yeah, I would say the first or second week of April, start really hounding them. And it wouldn't surprise me if you get hired in direct with a company. So don't write it off just because you can't get into the apprenticeship program. Hey, William, thanks for swinging by, man. I hope I caught you before you actually leave, but thanks for swinging by and have a good night. Enjoy yourself at the party. Tennessean. Where are you at in Tennessee, Cox? Jack Daniels Old Number 7. Now, moonshine. Real moonshine or fake purchase it at a liquor store moonshine? Because that real moonshine good God, that'll light you up. I've never been a Jack Daniels fan. I've tried a lot. Now, that being said, Old Number 7, from what I understand, is totally different than just their straight black label or whatever. I've never been a huge just straight whiskey fan. It's got way too much of that cinnamon bite for me. That's why I like Scotch. Is it kind of mellows that part out. But hey, I'll give it a shot. Maybe for next week I'll go get me some Jack Daniels Number 7 for you, brother, and we'll raise a glass. Yeah, Brett, see, that's a perfect example of this industry in a nutshell. Is you've expressed, no, I want to do this, and the guidance counselor is still trying to jam you into the college route. Now, this could be a total conspiracy theory, but I do wonder if they get any sort of kickback from colleges just because they push it so hard. I don't understand why. I don't understand why the trades aren't a viable option, but that really irritates me, because what happens is they are developing the mentality in guys and girls, students in general. They're developing this mentality that the trades are bad or the trades are lesser than. When they do that, when they continue to nudge you and push you and push you and push you, that subliminally is saying, no, that's not a good option for you. And that's what really irks me, because it is a good option. It is a really good option. But you're presenting it like it's the option if you fail. And that's not true. That's not the case. So whatever. Jake, Australia, man, that's awesome. Thanks for joining us. In fact, I'm surprised we haven't seen Phil in here. Phil is my other Australian fan. So if you see a guy walking around Australia randomly with a diesel and iron hat, that's my buddy Phil, and he's like my only other guy from Australia. So thanks for joining us, brother. Road construction and rail, types of work, so I'm a road construction guy. I have zero rail experience, so I honestly can't tell you from an experience standpoint of what it would be like working on rail. Road experience, I loved road work. You generally are on bigger job sites so that you're not stuck in one tiny lot. Like if you do site work, a lot of times you are on a fairly small location and it's where you're going to be for the next 4 to 6 months. Versus road work, we had jobs that were 11 miles long and you're up and down that job depending on what section you're working on. So I would say absolutely road work is fantastic if you get into land balancing and doing residential development, not necessarily residential like home lots, but the actual development of new subdivisions and stuff going in. That's a fantastic road to go into. Yeah, I'm not going to knock road construction. That's my background, and I've really enjoyed my career in it. So But thanks for joining us from Australia. What time is it there, by the way? It's like, what, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, probably, if I had to guess. Adam, thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. We'll talk at you maybe next week. Hard cider. See, this is what, now what's my thoughts? What's your thoughts, Dennis, on hard cider? My personal thoughts, I love a good hard cider because that's one of those that goes down. Now, I have to be careful here. I love one hard cider because they go down so freaking smooth and they will put you on your ass so quick. I have to limit myself to one or else I will be on the floor because they're so freaking good and it is deceiving how much alcohol they have in them. So I'm all for the hard cider. See, Nick, it's a hockey drink, but is it a legitimate hockey drink or is it the hockey drink that everyone drinks because they laugh at the fact they're drinking pink lemonade? Is someone pulling one over on you, brother? Am I just trying to have your back on this one? That's all I'm saying. But I will have to look. In fact, I'm gonna write that down. I have a notepad in front of me for writing things down that this is supposed to be for possible video topics that I'm gonna cover, but instead I'm writing down the name of a pink lemonade drink so that I can go see if I can find it, so that I can try a drink that Nick wants me to try. So talk about dedication to the cause. And the cause is drinking. Like, you guys are a terrible influence. Pink lemonade. Okay. So there it is. I have officially written down your pink lemonade drink so that I can go find it and see to try it. So, dude, William, yeah, you guys got hammered. So I'm from Austin originally. My sister and brother-in-law live in the Temple area, and good God, did you guys get it? Like, watching people walk in downtown Austin with 3 inches of snow on the ground blows my mind. I lived in Texas for, man, collectively, I think like 17 years or something, and I've never seen that much snow in Texas. Like, we always got a dusting, maybe an inch at the most, but 3 freaking inches of snow in downtown Austin blows my mind. And now you guys are having all of the power grid issues and rolling, like my sister, they lost water for a while. They were having rolling blackouts. They were fortunate enough they only went to the rolling blackouts. They didn't have power totally shut off. We have old friends in Austin, though, that had power off for like 3 days straight. So, like, it is kind of laughable, but at the same time, for a lot of people, it was pretty serious. In fact, I heard there was an 11-year-old kid that ended up freezing to death in his home. And they're suing the snot out of the power company over it. So, scary stuff, man. But yeah, that was rough. Yeah, Nick, it wasn't even 5 inches, brother. It was 3. That's how. So, being a Texas boy, I'll tell you what happens. When I moved to Michigan, let me back up. In Texas, if you go outside and the ground has a little tinge of white on it, you go back inside and you shut down the entire state. That's how Texas works. And in their defense, it's because they don't ever get snow. They don't have the equipment to deal with it. No one has snow tires. No one even has all-season tires in Texas. You just have summer tires because in Texas, there are 2 seasons. There's hot summer and there's cold summer. And the cold summer is what you would call winter, but it doesn't ever get cold. It's just cold summer. So no one knows how to deal with it down there. So that's their one defense. But yeah, if there's any hint of white on the ground, they totally shut the state down. So when I moved to Michigan, I followed this pretty girl here up to Michigan, and I think I had been here for 5 or 6 weeks, and because I moved in the fall, it was right when the college season started. And so this is when Facebook is just starting to take off, if that dates me a little bit. And so I get on Facebook one morning when we have had freezing rain falling all night, and I think we had about a 1/4 inch of just solid ice on everything, followed by an inch of snow on top of it. I got on Facebook and looked at all of my friends posting pictures of the fact that they are staying home because there's this very tiny, like, everyone's, it's Facebook. You have to post all of these really tiny zoomed in pictures of this little one snowflake that's on a blade of grass, and they're like, oh, we got snow. I was pissed off because I had to get up for work about a half hour early and literally chisel my way into my car because of the freezing rain, and I still had to go to work. And I'm just like, F you guys. That's finally when I really understood the Northern's disdain for Texas when they shut down because of that, because it was like, F you guys. I still have to go to work and all of this, and you guys have one snowflake on a blade of grass. Give me a break. So yes, it did shut down. Finkel, that's so if you guys go to my website and look at my attire, I need to focus more time on getting some more attire put out, but that's exactly what I'm going for, is really the pride in the trade. So one of my first shirts that I've got is college. It's got college in big block letters. It's got the excavator on it and says the alternative for those who can't hack it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, college. And it's the alternative for those who can't hack it in the trades. So I want to flip that whole mentality on its head. Like, if you can't hack it in the trades because you don't want to be outside and you don't want to get wet or you don't want to be hot, then you go to college. It's not the other way around. The other shirt I've got, I just haven't actually put it on. I haven't slapped it on a shirt yet. I need to. Is sorry I couldn't hear you crying about your student debt. My earplugs were still in from work. Like, those are that's the sort of message that we need to be sending as the trades is, no, you're soft if you go to college. Like, that's not the more difficult route, and we aren't the failures. You're the soft ones. We're the ones who went to work. We're the ones who actually have the power of what it takes to go out and work for a living. It really bothers me the way that the white collar world looks down on the blue collar world, when the reality is the white collar world doesn't work that hard. Don't get me wrong, there are people who absolutely work, but to the point that they look down their noses at the blue collar crowd, and especially that they think so many of us are dumb. Like, that's another thing that really irritates me. Some of the smartest guys I know are blue collar crowd guys. These are the guys who you can put them in front of an electrical panel that looks like a giant jumbled mess, and within 10 minutes they'll be able to figure out why the light switch on the third story bathroom doesn't work. I mean, that's the sort of stuff that you get in the trades. You put a white collar guy in that position, they can't think outside the box because their job has never required that of them. So all that to say, that's kind of where I want to go with my channel and with my gear and my attire and stuff, is I want to flip that whole mentality on its head. Oh, Cox, yeah, you're getting the real stuff then. Yeah. So, believe it or not, my dad is, not believe it or not, I've told you guys this before, my dad's in the banking industry, but the believe it or not aspect of that is he's got quite a few banks that he deals with over in the Tennessee, Kentucky area, the Carolinas, and it is shocking how many bankers have stills up in the woods. And moonshining is just the family tradition. I'm sure you're familiar because you're in the area, but for most people in the country, they have no idea. Like, there's so much tradition in it that even these high-level, powerful bank executives that are pulling down, $250,000 a year, they still moonshine. And it's not income related. It's just the tradition of going up in the hills and carrying on the family tradition of making moonshine. And they all know it's illegal. They know they could all get popped for it, but at the same time, everybody does it. So all that to say, I may have to hit you up for some of that real moonshine. I'd love that. That'd be awesome. And Dennis, I'm totally with you, man. I love it. I do. Rich adult drinks. Come on now, Nick. You can afford a hard cider from time to time. Or are you talking about the scotch? Because scotch is an expensive adult drink. I didn't get into scotch until a couple years ago, and I kind of regret it just because it's a very expensive habit. You have to restrict yourself and sip on it, or you can very easily go through $60 or $90 a week. So, all right. So it's from the biggest podcast from Barstool. Okay, Look, you saw me write it down, Nick. You saw me write it down. I'm going to try to find your pink lemonade drink, and possibly next week. I got to see what my budget will afford me, and if I can find it. If I can find your pink lemonade drink, I will try to drink it on next week's podcast for you. Or podcast. You got me talking about podcast now. On my next live stream, so we'll see. 12:51. Oh, so you still got most of the day left there, Jake. So driving trucks is a great way to get a start. And I'm assuming you're driving trucks on the job site, either off-road trucks or on-road truck, whatever it is. I'm assuming that you're on the job site. And I will tell you this, it's very easy to get complacent when you're driving one of those trucks. That's how I started when I got into the heavy civil side, was driving an articulated dump truck and then a quarry truck. And it's really easy to pick up this when you're waiting in line to get loaded and just start playing around and looking at Facebook, and put that away and look around. That is an opportunity, whether you're on a roller, articulated dump truck, quarry truck, any of those bottom tier positions that are just boring. You'll never get an opportunity to sit and watch the job site like you will when you're in one of those positions. And that's what I really encourage guys to do, is use that time to look around and really study. Okay, the hoe operator over there, what makes him efficient or not efficient? What's he doing that I would do different? Or what's he doing that I wouldn't do different? What's he doing that he's doing clearly correctly and he's getting great cycle times? Or this guy on the dozer over here, why is he making so many passes when I think I could do that in a half to a third of the number of passes he's making? Like, what would I do different in that situation? Or likewise, if he's carving out a ditch over here, watch his technique for carving out that ditch, because a lot of old timers have all of these techniques that they've picked up over the years that if you watch him and study him without being in the seat of that dozer, you will be able to pick up that technique. And that way, even if it's 5 years from now, you get in a seat of a dozer and someone says, I need you to run over here and carve out a ditch, you're going to think back to that guy and go, oh, I saw that guy and he did it really quick. You didn't have to go learn that lesson the hard way. You were able to observe it. That only happens if you are actively observing on the job site. So that's my biggest piece of advice I'll give you while you're driving a truck. That is a great position to start in, because it allows you the opportunity to study the job site. Finkel, thanks for stopping in. You've probably already left, but if you haven't, thanks for stopping in, man. It was good talking to you. Nick, no, but that doesn't surprise me at all. It's so sad how ill-equipped the outside of the airports, like DFW, even Austin, I don't know is that well equipped, but they're even more equipped than the road departments just because they don't ever deal with it. Even there in Kentucky, when I was in Kentucky last week, like their plow trucks are tiny. And you can tell they're totally inexperienced because even their plow trucks were only going like 5 or 6 miles an hour. Like, it was pathetically slow how fast they were going. And they're not experienced at it. They don't have the know-how to deal with that level of snow and ice like we do. So it is interesting seeing the differences from area to area. But if you think about it, I mean, what kind of budget would you have to think about? The Dallas-Fort Worth area? That is a huge metropolitan area. What kind of budget would they have to put together to not only purchase plow trucks, but then maintain the fleet of plow trucks that might get used once every 3 to 5 years? Like, it doesn't fiscally make sense for them to go purchase all of that equipment. And that's part of the reason they get hit as hard as they do when it snows, is because it literally just doesn't make sense for them to purchase the equipment. It's cheaper for everyone to just shut down. And that's the other thing about Texas too, is it's not like up in the north where you get snow and it sticks around for a week and a half before you finally get a thaw. Generally in Texas, this system has been a totally different animal, but generally in Texas, by noon the next day, everything is melted. So it's really rare that you get something that's going to shut down the state for a week at a time. At the most, you're generally talking 2 days. So this was it is what it is. It's getting publicized as this huge, the power grid is absolutely an issue in the way that it was not prepared for a cold front like this to come down. But as far as the roads being taken care of, it's being blown out of proportion just because it doesn't make sense for them to have all that equipment. So yeah, Jake, so those 360 attachments, That's a whole different animal right there, because now you're thinking in a, in a fourth dimension, if you want to call it that. So you've got your regular 3 dimensions with the bucket, but now you're also thinking about how you can rotate it and use it in a different angle. And that's some legit operating. Watching especially European guys, AP over there with those freaking rototilts and with the grabbers on them and all. Those guys are a next level operator, just because you are so complex with those attachments. So, Patton, I see you're retracting all your messages, brother. Come on, speak up. You ain't gonna get made fun of in here. Come on now, you can speak up. Mr. Rodriguez, 211. I don't even know what 211 is. 8% alcohol, though. Good Lord, those will put you on your ass quick. I'd imagine 3 tall boys would put you out. That's crazy. Yeah, Nick, freezing rain does anybody in. But especially in those states that don't even have the stuff to deal with snow, it totally shuts them down. So Finkel, if you hit up, so I've only got the one with the college letters on it, but if you go to dieselandironproductions.com and go to the store, that one is available for sale. And in fact, I need to make a note. I'm going to try to get that earplugs one up. I've been putting it off because I've been working on other stuff, but I do need to get that one up. All right, I'll try to do that tomorrow, brother. Electronic joysticks. So, yes and no. There are other machines. I haven't in the next gen cats, so I haven't had an opportunity to sit in one of those and do that particularly. But yes, I've operated a lot of electronic joystick machines. So, pretty much all of the new cat loaders are EH controls. The majority of your new skid steers are EH controls. I'm trying to think if I've run a hoe that has been true EH. And I don't remember if I have or not. But it is an entirely different animal. You don't realize how much you rely on the feedback from the pilot control system until you run one that is EH. And you totally lose that feel in your hands. So the biggest learning experience was when I was starting running loader, I was in a Komatsu WA320, and that was a pilot control system. And I could polish a road surface in that machine. I really could. I was really good at being able to grade in that machine and make things smooth, and it was all with the feel in the joystick. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was all in the feel in the joystick. And then they upgraded me to a Cat 938K, I believe, and that is EH controls. It took me like 2 or 3 days to relearn how to grade in that machine. I could not grade. I couldn't get that bucket, without relying on just kind of eyesight. In that WA320, what I would do when I'd set my loader bucket down is I would set it on the ground, and I'd know when I'd set it down, I would set it at, this is a way exaggeration, but I would set it tipped back just a tiny bit, because with my hydraulics, I could then curl the bucket out and I could feel when the front lip, that's how sensitive your feel is in those controls when you get really intimately good with a machine, is you can feel when the front lip comes into contact with the ground because of the feedback in those controls. And so I started trying to do that in the Cat 938K. Dude, it took me like 3 days, because now all of that feedback I was getting in my hands had to come from my ass, and I was not used to that. And so it just took some time to get used to that switch over. But that being said, there are some really, really awesome aspects of the EH controls. To go back to your next gen cats, the fact that you can totally customize not only the buttons on the joysticks, but you can customize, if I want my bucket curl to be a hair faster, but I want my stick in to be a hair slower, and I want my boom down to be a little slower, I can individually on those next gen cats adjust each one of those sensitivities. That's awesome. That's crazy to me that, and I knew it was going to happen. I figured Cat would be the first one to do it, but when controls first came onto the market, that was the first thing I thought of, is who's going to be the first one to really realize the potential of the customizability of these controls. And of course it was Cat to do it. But it was, yeah, it's an interesting switchover, but I'm a fan of the controls personally, once you get used to them. See, that's interesting. What do you guys use instead of wheel loaders? Because wheel loaders are, it's such a, like, you would think that's a very specific machine, like it's only capable of doing a thing. But man, I was the wheelbarrow for the job site. I could go in and do some pretty, like, it starts out as rough grading, but you could also do some pretty decent fine tuning. Like when I had to go clean up windrows after the dozer or whatever, I could get those things, when you get good and get a good feel for that cutting edge, I could pick that sucker clean and I could back drag it and it would almost look like a dozer did it by the end of it. And then you throw a set of pipe forks on it, and the stuff that you can do with a loader is just amazing. They're such versatile machines, so it really surprises me you guys don't use them as much. MC, I'm totally with you. I enjoy excavators. It's hard to beat the number of things an excavator can do, the amount of skill development that you can do in an excavator. They're just fun machines. They're just, it's hard to beat, especially when you start getting into the big ones. Taking a big old heaping scoop out of a pile, like, that's just fun. It doesn't matter who you are. So I'm totally with you. I love excavators. Starting to slow down in here, guys. What's happening? Are you guys, let's see, are you guys silently drinking on the other side, and everyone's had a couple now and you're starting to get complacent and lazy? Is that what's happening? You guys do, that is one thing, AP. You use a lot more of the small dumpers. And you don't see those nearly as much on our American sites. You do on pipe jobs, I should say pipeline jobs, when you're out in the woods and stuff. But yeah, you don't see the dumpers over here like you do over in Europe. Joe Operator. I'll have to go look his videos up. My email is thatdiggerdude@gmail.com. If you look, it will flash right down here. In fact, it is the next one that's going to flash here in just a second. In fact, what's my countdown timer at? I think, yeah, here in just a second it's going to flash. So MC, we've talking about it earlier. If you can, hire in at a company and let them pay you. I'm sorry. It's the next card that's going to flash. In fact, here, I'm going to speed that whole process up for you. Let me get this card to flash for you. Here's my email. There it is. thatdiggerdude@gmail.com. And it's going to go away pretty quick, so grab it. So MC, all that to say, try to get hired in at a company so that they pay you to learn, as opposed to paying for an education just because, why pay for something that you can get paid to learn? But at the same time, if you want to go to a trade school, there's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that it's a legit one. Do your homework on it. Make sure you're not going to pay 14 grand to sit in a classroom and read a book about the difference between an excavator and a dozer. So just do your homework. So where do you get your girl drink from, Nick? I gotta go find it. Do they even sell it in the States, or is this like a Canada only? We have a monopoly on girl drinks. You let me know. MC, I would highly advise you not to do that, especially these days, because more often than not, those machines are equipped with some sort of GPS, and they absolutely will send an email to someone in the company, especially if it's a larger company, anytime that engine starts outside of regular operating hours. So, as much as you want to, and I totally get it, brother, totally understand, don't do that. You can get yourself into some pretty big trouble, and then good luck getting hired. So Abruzzo, is it Abruzzo? I don't know how to pronounce that, but I will agree from a visibility standpoint. I like the tool carrier setups. Obviously, it's way easier to see stuff. For me, the tool carriers have never seemed to have the oomph that the Z-bar linkage does. And I guess I've run the Z-bar linkage so long that I really don't even think about it anymore. It's just, you know, it doesn't bother me. It really bothered me at first, but it doesn't bother me so much anymore. But yeah, 100%. The visibility, just, you can't even compete when it comes to a tool carrier. Yeah, and AP, those are the big, you're talking the big wheel loaders there. Those are the fun ones. 980 and above is where wheel loaders really get awesome. And unfortunately, I've topped out at like a 9, what's the next one up from a 950? I don't remember what the new nomenclature is, but that's where I've topped out. I'd love to run one of the bigger machines, but you know, outside of a quarry or a mine, which they're never going to let me sit in the seat, it's really hard to find someone that will let you sit. So hey Brandon, thanks for the subscribe, brother. I appreciate that. So getting into land clearing, first of all, I would do a lot of research into what type of land clearing. Are you talking with a dozer? Are you talking about going out and getting a skid with a mulching head? Right now, the industry, at least in our area, I'm finding there are other parts of the country that this is happening too. One of the things that kind of came out of COVID is a lot of guys went, I've got some money in the bank. I'll go out and buy a forestry head and a skid steer and get into mulching. So I've got a buddy, Rick, which you'll probably notice if you've watched a fair amount of my videos, especially the vlog series. That's the guy I was working with the majority of the time. That's how he started. I think it's been about 2 years ago. And when he started, it was really good rates. You could go out and you could easily make $5,000 a job doing, you know, half to 3/4 of a day lot clearing with the Fecon head. Now he's getting undercut right and left by these fly-by-night guys that have no idea what they're doing. They're totally underwater on their machines, so they're panicking and they're just bidding any job they can to try to keep the machine running so that they can at least pay their bill. So I would highly advise you do your homework. I'm not saying your market is that way, but do your homework before you go invest in the money. But yeah, absolutely, getting into erosion control. If you want to start small, go out and get you one of those little dingoes and a little trenching attachment on it, and along with the bucket, and go to town doing silt fence. There are a lot of guys in the area that have gotten into that, and you can make really good money doing silt fence, and it is shitty work. It's terrible. You are working out in the middle of the woods a lot of times, plowing a path before anything has happened, and then it's manually rolling out silt fence and hammering it in. It's terrible, but it's good money, and it's a great way to at least start and get some income flowing before you go purchase some other equipment. So yeah, I would certainly not rule that out. But like I said, I would just highly. So I just saw your comment down here. If you're looking to do the mulching Fecon head on a skid, I would highly advise you to just do your homework on what your competition is in the area before you go invest that money. And if you do invest, what I would say is pick you up a used machine. Make sure it's high flow, because if you're going to run a Fecon head, a mulching head, you're going to have high flow. And then go buy a Fecon head separate from the used machine. You don't need a brand new machine. I would not advise you to get a brand new machine, because the first thing you're going to do is take it out in the woods and scratch the crap out of it. So get you a nice lower hour machine that you know is in good shape. And if you don't have a ton of competition and you can get the prices that you're wanting, go to town, brother. You can make good money at it. You just have to do your homework. Rototilt steel wrist. So I haven't used the rototilt, but I have used the steel wrist, that just articulates side to side, and absolutely loved it. I'm a little OCD when it came to the angle, so it did drive me a little bit nuts, because The one thing I don't like about them is, at least on the excavators that I ran, you didn't have a little rocker switch. It was a button. You had a button that went left and a button that went right. And so it was real jerky. And so if you wanted to get the perfect angle for your slope, a lot of times it would take you 4 or 5 times of jolting it back and forth before it finally lined up. So that's just me personally in my OCD. You don't have to be that exact and perfect, but it irritated me. That being said, man, when it came to grade work, that thing was freaking handy. It was really handy. One of the only downsides to those buckets are, well, there's two. First of all, generally it's going to be a grading bucket, like a ditching bucket with a smooth lip on it. So you're not going to be using that for general purpose digging most of the time, especially if you're in an area that has harder material. The second disadvantage is, because you are adding the tilt linkage or the rototilt linkage, depending on the one you get, you increase the radius of the lip of the bucket to, let me get in the camera view here, from the lip of the bucket to the hinge pin of the bucket. And I'm gonna do this is on my list of videos to make, where I get into the nerdy physics of digging, because that's actually, understanding the physics of a machine digging is actually really helpful. It's super nerdy. I nerd out on that stuff, but it's helpful to know. But what you need to know is, your bucket is a lever, and it's rotating around this fulcrum of the hinge pin here. And so if I keep, I'm sorry, my hands are all over the place. Let's start here where we've got this very small lever, because you've got a cylinder that's pushing on this backside, right? And that's gonna make the bucket move. And so we're hinging right here. But now if I take that lip, and I've got a lot of force when I'm doing it here, but now if I take that lip and I move it out here, it's taking a lot more force to get that bucket lip to move, because we've extended this radius here. What that does is it kills your breakout force. That's my only other issue with those rototilt buckets, is they're fantastic for doing fine grading cleanup work where you don't need a ton of breakout force. But the second you get into some harder digging conditions, you're really gonna suffer, because I mean, you're talking a huge increase in radius, because that linkage is so big to fit it all in there. So that's my only other issue with those. Other than that, I'm totally with you. I'd love to see them come to the States more. They're super handy. I think they're way underutilized, because a lot of the guys in the States, we're just stuck in our ways and we don't like change. So Nick, I would actually say upstate New York upstate brush control is more kind of along the lines of what he's talking, because he does all forestry mulching. And that's another point I would tell you, Brandon, is really spend some time watching guys do forestry mulching. That is an art within itself that is totally independent of anything else in the industry. Knowing how to approach trees, how to take them down, how to safely take them down, how to go about getting the stumps down to the ground. Like, there is a science and an art to it, and I would highly advise you to go learn some of the mistakes from those guys, because one thing you need to know about those Fecon heads, they are extremely expensive. They are expensive to maintain. The tools that go on it, the bits, they're called tools. Those are extremely expensive to replace, so you always want to pay attention to rocks and stuff like that. If you hook into hydraulic lines, generally there's a chance you're going to F up the motor, because it's going to tweak on that. So you want to learn your lessons from someone else who's ripped a hydraulic line off first. There's just a lot that goes into it. Making sure you're not, you're going to be in a tracked machine. Anytime you're doing forestry mulching, you're going to be in a tracked machine, because you're going to be off in the woods and you want that low ground pressure. You also have to be careful, because tracks are really expensive. And if you start turning over all of this debris, doing 180s, you're going to just shred your tracks. And tracks, you're talking, I want to say a track is $1,500 a side. So you're talking $3,000 for a set of tracks if you shred them in the woods on your second job. So really do your homework before you commit to it. Don't let me scare you away from it. There is good money in it, and you can absolutely be successful. But like I said, just make sure you do your homework. Protect yourself before you go make. Realistically, you're probably going to make a $80,000 to $100,000 investment to get a decent high horsepower, high flow machine, and a Fecon mulching head, you're probably going to be north of 80,000 for sure. So before you go make that sort of an investment, make sure you protect yourself and do your homework. Nick, I don't even know what that means. Society de Alcohol. Okay, so the Society of Alcohol of Quebec. There's my super American French translation. I think I nailed it. Oh, Nick, I just saw your comment. 100%. Go get a case machine. Case rules. Nick, that was it. 966, I think, is the highest loader I've run. Yeah, Bruzo, that's a good point. That's a good point on that loader. I mean, we've all got our preferences. We've all we all like our things. We're all old operators that are grouchy and get crotchety when you get us out of our element, right? So Nick's throwing out Volvo, which, you know, I'm not gonna argue that, because I know a lot of guys that love the Volvo loaders. All I have to say is I need to sit one. I need to actually take one out and spend a half day in it on a job site before I personally can say that Volvos make a fantastic loader. My personal favorite currently is probably between the Case and the Cat, and I've explained this before. I like the Cat because it's got the power, it's got the ass. I like the Case because it has a real transmission in it. It just doesn't have enough ass to support it. So it really fails when it comes to supporting big loads, like we're just talking about with the Bruzo there. If you are unloading some large pipe off a trailer, that Cat's going to be able to handle it a lot better than the Case will, because they just didn't put enough counterweight in it. So that's my only beef there. And I know that drives Nick nuts, because I'm a Case sellout. They paid me to sell it, brother. So they're not paying me anymore. In fact, yeah, whatever. I still like it. It's that orange. Power tan, baby. Power tan. So, Cox, I've already forgotten what we're talking about. What was the route that we were talking about instead of buying a backhoe? I'm sorry. This is where I just need to stop talking so much, because I've already forgotten what I'm talking about. And I already addressed you, Nick. Just pipe down with the Case stuff. I already addressed that. See, AP, go get you a job sitting in the seat of an EC950 and then send us some footage of it, man. That's the stuff we need. Yeah. Brandon, absolutely, man. I'm gonna try to get my buddy Rick on the channel in the next couple of weeks. I need to go purchase another one of these mics so that we can have two of us in here. But once I get him on the channel, I'm gonna have him in here for two reasons. One, he actually owns his own company doing exactly what you're talking about, but then he also supplements with a bunch of other stuff. I'll try to get him to get you some more information, so stay posted. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going to try to commit to that. Let me write that on my list of things to do, along with buy pink lemonade alcohol, is get Rick on the channel. But he would be really, he would have a lot of information on kind of what to look for, what to look out for, what to consider when you're buying your machine, what to stay away from. He would be a really good resource for you. Ty, where are you at? That's the first question I'm going to ask you, is where are you at? And the second thing I'm going to say is, the best way to get in the industry is go down to a job site or go down to the company's main office and tell them you're looking to start, and tell them your experience level and say you're willing to learn, and you will do whatever they ask. Having that mentality is going to get you in the door, and it's going to get people looking at you, because right now in this industry, we're really struggling for people who are just willing to learn and not get their feelings hurt and walk away from the job. So, and then you say you're in school. Are you in high school or college? What's your schooling? Kind of give me a better picture of where you're at. But honestly, the best way is to just show up and tell them that you're willing to work and you're willing to do whatever they ask you to do. And then obviously be forward with them that you want to learn how to run the equipment. You may not start on the equipment, and that's okay. So you're in the Chicago area. You shouldn't have a problem in the Chicago area. I know those guys are hurting for operators too. But go into it knowing that you there's a good chance that you're not going to start on a machine. You're going to start on the end of a shovel, and be okay with that. And don't complain about that. And also don't constantly ask when you can get on a machine. You know, if it's 6 months in and you haven't had any machine time, that's when you go to the foreman and you say, hey man, is there any chance that I could maybe stay late and do something on the excavator where I'm not going to screw anything up and get some seat time? And that's going to do two things. One, it's going to get you some seat time outside of normal job hours when you're not disrupting the job site. Number two, that's going to show your foreman or the owner, whoever you're working for, that you've taken the initiative to, outside of normal business hours, stay late even on your own time to learn. That's going to be huge to your employer on showing your initiative. And that's going to help you advance way faster than other guys who want to be out the door as soon as 5 o'clock rolls around. Those are the guys that aren't going to make it in this industry. I know, Nick, I gotta try the Hitachi. I don't have anyone that has a Hitachi around here that I know that I can get my hands on. That's why, if COVID will ever freaking let up, you need to talk to your employer and see if I can come see you and spend some time in one of those machines you have access to. Casey O'Neill, I do not. Let me write. Man, you got me writing down all sorts of stuff tonight, man. I'm not supposed to be the one that has homework after this. I'm supposed to give out homework. Casey O'Neill, I'll have to go follow him. Where's he from? How many of us we got in here? There's still 19 of us. We got a good crew in tonight. Oh, we're starting to slow down again, guys. AP, that is a great point. That is a fantastic point. That's actually something that I have done my entire career. A lot of guys, I don't know, they feel weird going up to an operator and talking to him and asking him questions. But man, that you want to talk about the best way to learn? Hey, Elite Earthworks showed up in here. Welcome to the live stream, brother. That's awesome. Thanks for stopping by. I'm flattered. But to go back to AP, sorry, that's a great point. Anytime I saw an operator doing something that I'm like, I wonder why he's doing that. Absolutely. Go up. Obviously, wait until the time is appropriate. Don't catch him in the middle of whatever he's doing, but absolutely walk up to the door of the machine and ask him. And most operators are more than happy to share their knowledge. They really appreciate someone taking an interest, that they've taken the time to hone their craft. So I would say I don't think I've ever had someone get irritated for me asking questions. And that's a fantastic way to learn techniques and learn, especially being green to the industry. That's a great way to learn how operators think, because he might be thinking 3 steps ahead of what you're thinking about. And when you walk up and ask him that, he goes, yeah, this is the next step, and this is what we're going to do, and that's why I'm doing this, is to prep for it. And you go, I didn't even think about that. Like, I wasn't even there. And from that point forward, it's totally shifted your perspective on how you think about the job. So 100% AP, that is fantastic advice. All right, Nick, I'm gonna have to check him out. Hey, Frank's in here too. What's going on, guys? Thanks for stopping in, Frank. It's been a while. So, Elite, now that you're in here, Elite Earthworks, I just lost your name. I'm sorry. I've been watching you for so long now, and I just lost your name. But how's the railroad track job coming along? Because that looked like a wet, muddy mess. That I was not jealous of those working conditions at all. That looked like a miserable job. And Frank, when are we going to see another video from you? AP, another great point. Brandon, that's right. Sorry, Brandon. I'll get you. It's going to take me probably 2 or 3 more times of talking with you, but I will get it, I promise. Which, by the way, I looked up where you're from, and I just lost the name. Daggone it. You're down in Missouri, or Missouri, isn't it? That's how you pronounce it down there? That's where my grandfather... You're from the town that my grandfather is from, believe it or not. What's up, Dan, man? Thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, that looked absolutely miserable digging on that job. That was just a muddy, disastrous mess. And you're far enough south that you're in that beautiful thaw, freeze, thaw, freeze, thaw, freeze phase where you get to start in decent conditions in the morning, knowing that by like 10:30, 11 o'clock, the job site turns into a snotty, disastrous mess. I hate it. Joplin, Missouri. That's right. That's right. Joplin, Missouri. But to go back to AP again, 100%. Catching them at grease time is a great time to pick their brain because greasing is a mind-numbing, boring task. And so it's always nice to have someone to talk to while you're doing that. And again, these guys, most operators are more than happy to share their knowledge and ask if you're there asking questions. And grease time is a great time to do that. So awesome, Frank. I'm looking forward to it. So... Joplin, Missouri. I got to get down that way at some point here, but preferably not when you are in the middle of a greasy mess. And while I'm down there, I can swing over and see Frank possibly. I'm going to have to do the rounds here at some point. I'm hoping that the bank account will top off a little bit more over these next couple of months and I can have some more travel funds. Because Kentucky was such a disaster. I have to salvage it now. I have to go hunt someone down and salvage it. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. I really do. I put a lot of heart and soul into these, and so it's always nice when there's some real appreciation for them. And Nick, I 100% agree. I don't know if you saw... I want to say it's like day 5 or 6 of that long 2-week job that I did with Rick landscaping that huge house. But the whole opening of the video, I think there's like a minute-long opening of the video where it's just me. It's cuts of me just swearing at my grease gun and getting grease all over the place. I hate grease. I hate it. It's one of the... Grease and cleaning tracks in nasty, muddy weather are the 2 worst parts of this job, hands down. Brandon, that's a really good point. Yeah, and I will tell you this. If you start doing that, especially in this job market, in this economy, there's a great chance you're going to land yourself a job. If you go to show up and just work for free to get some seat time, I guarantee you in this job market, you're probably going to get someone once they watch you and see that you're actually going to do it and be safe, and I guarantee you're going to get offered a job. So I'm okay, Frank. I'm okay. I'm totally good with you having backhoes in your videos. I'm not going to be the backhoe king. I have no desire to go down that road. In fact, I was watching, God, what's his name? The guy in New York on site. I can't even think of his name. That's the problem. You get on these live streams and your brain just farts out on you. But yeah, he was digging in a John Deere 310 or whatever this week. And he had the wobble sticks. Oops, sorry. He had the wobble sticks. And I'm just like, no. So I'm good watching people in backhoes. I have no desire to get in a backhoe. Little Sketchers, good to see you, man. Backhoes are great for a first machine just because they're so versatile. You've got the hoe on the back so that you can trench and you can do all of that. And then you've got the bucket on the front. My opinion of backhoes I have always maintained the same opinion. They're the jack of all trades. So you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. If you've ever heard that phrase, that is backhoes in a nutshell. If you take a skid steer like a compact track loader and you take a mini excavator and put them on the same job as a backhoe, you will outdig that backhoe all day long. And at some point, I'm gonna go see Frank. We've already talked about this, and we're gonna do a dig off so that I can prove it. I can prove myself against his backhoe. But that's my opinion on backhoes, is they're a versatile machine and they can do a lot of different things, but overall they don't excel at either one of those things. So, but as far as a first machine, yeah, it gives you a ton of versatility, because you can go in and you can start digging sumps and some of your smaller pipe jobs, and then you can turn around and backfill with the same machine. Or if you've just got to move material from point A to point B or do some rough grading, I mean, you can do a lot with a backhoe, especially if you got skills like Frank. So I will, in all honesty, Brandon, I will try to come see you at some point here. I would love to come work for you work for you for a couple of days and just hang out. That would be a blast. I did that with Carson Shifsky last year and had an absolute blast with him. So I'll get down there at some point. Nick DeWalt, no particular reason. I think at the time, I want to say at the time I purchased my Milwaukee, DeWalt hadn't come out with theirs that had the adjustable pump dial. And we're talking about grease guns for anyone who's not following along here. And I really wanted that adjustable dial. And then shortly, and I'm talking like within months of me purchasing my Milwaukee, DeWalt came out with theirs. The only real big benefit of the DeWalt over the Milwaukee, I think, was the DeWalt put out just a slightly higher PSI. So if you had any stuck grease fittings, it would power through them just a little bit better. Outside of that, they're essentially the same grease gun. So I don't regret buying my Milwaukee. I will recommend it 100 times over because it's been such a great grease gun. Mike's Dirt Boss. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, Dirt Boss. He's been digging in that 310 on that slope. I don't know if you guys have seen him doing that, but that does not look like a good time digging in that. I'm shocked he has as little frost as he does, too. With how cold it has been up here in the north, I thought for sure he'd be digging through like 1.5 foot or 2 foot of frost. And it looked like the snow actually did him some favors and insulated the ground so he didn't have that much to dig through. You're right, Frank. Backhoes don't have tracks to shovel. I will give you that. I will secede that point. They don't have tracks to shovel. AP, I agree. There's unfortunately there is this machismo aspect of construction to where guys feel like they can't ask questions or they can't be the guy that doesn't know. And I think that's just silly. Like, just ask the question. Stop beating around the bush and stop worrying about your manliness. Just ask the question. Everyone's going to benefit. Hey, Cox, thanks for swinging out, brother. At some point, we're going to have to get together and do a little moonshine hookup. Keep me posted. Yeah, 3-piece rear windows are terrible. That's one thing I hate about the case too. Don't get me wrong, it can be convenient on certain days because it does give you the flexibility of how you want to open it, but for the most part, yeah, it's a pain in the ass. I hate the 3-piece windows. Yeah, so Ty, I would say as you start coming to the end of your high school here, and start getting into, I'm assuming you're going to graduate this summer, man. Or I'm sorry, this spring. Talk about a perfect window to get in with companies. You're going to graduate just on the backside, but still in the busy swing of the season. Go start hitting some smaller companies up and ask if you can, join up and you're willing to work, and tell them you're willing to put a shovel in your hands and do that as long as need be. But tell them, be forward with them that your ultimate goal is to learn the equipment. I guarantee you're going to find a job. People are hurting really bad for help, so go hit them up. Frank, that's another good point, especially if your jobs are within a reasonable distance. You can drive it to the job. and so you're saving on transportation costs, especially when you compare that. So I will say this too. Go back to our situation of you've got a CTL and a Mini. So you are now running two machines. If you've got two operators, then you're running them concurrently and you're paying fuel and upkeep and machine time for both of those machines versus one, the backhoe. So you will get more production out of them, but it is more expensive on transportation costs, more expensive on fuel costs. It's like anything else in this business. Everyone's got their own technique and their own way of going about it. And I wouldn't say that one or the other is necessarily wrong. It's just what we know, what we prefer. And I'll tell you, I've said this before, the way Frank can make a backhoe sing, I laughingly say I'm going to go prove myself right. Chances are I'll probably get my ass schooled by Frank because he knows that machine so well. So, is there a wrong way? Too many times in this industry, guys say yes, but in reality, no, there's not a wrong way. There's just different ways to go about it. So, let's see here. Yeah, exactly, Nick. Everything good, nothing perfect. Sketchers. Yes. On buying equipment. Yes, I can absolutely do that. Let me write that one down. That's a good video topic. Video on buying equipment. And I'm assuming you're talking used equipment. But yeah, I would be happy to do a video on that. That's right, Brandon. That's especially as a business owner. That's what you got to do. You just go out there and you wing it and you get away with what you can get away with. And, if 80 to 90% of the time it works out good, you're making it. And if 80 to 90% of the time it doesn't work out good, you should probably go find a different job. Yeah, Frank, you and your New Holland, that machine, you do baby it, but you got to keep babying it because there ain't much of those left. They're all going away. Yeah, AP, that's a great point. That is one thing that irritates the snot out of people is when you don't know what you're doing, you confidently stride out there and do it the wrong way because you don't want to ask. Yeah, that'll get you yelled at on a job pretty quick. So I have to be honest as to my bias with backhoes. I didn't used to hate backhoes with the passion that I did until I spent 6 months in one on an 11-mile long job site doing erosion control, and it was a cat. And cats, if you haven't run a cat, they rode terribly. They are one of the bounciest machines that you can freaking drive up and down the road, and that's all I did for 6 months was drive that sucker up and down a job. It had wobble sticks instead of pilot controls. Excuse me. And everything I was doing, because I was on this little erosion control job, like everything I was doing was super precise work. Like I'm trying to place riprap with a backhoe with erosion controls down in a ditch off the side of the road where I can't get the thing even remotely close to level. And it's just, those swing cylinders on that back arm aren't nearly as powerful as an excavator is. So when it came to fighting stuff going uphill one direction or the other, like everything about that job was just a giant pain in the ass. And so what happened was, it's like being with a spouse that you're just irritated with for years and years and years. And it's like slowly you just are like, why am I doing this? Why do I even do this? Like that's the relationship I had with my backhoe. And so I think that's part of why I'm so biased against backhoes. So, but that's just me. I'm sorry. So Travis, 14 years old, dad's heavy equipment operator in Upper Michigan. Where at in Upper Michigan, just out of curiosity? Or Lower Peninsula, or are you guys all the way up in the UP? Are you a Youper? Travis, absolutely. First of all, thanks for joining us, Travis. Absolutely, man. This is if you like being outdoors, you like working in the elements, and you don't mind hard work, and you don't mind working some long hours, This is a great industry. It is, you can make some really good money. There's a lot of opportunity, not only working for other people, but right here you've got, if you're unfamiliar with these guys, you've got Diggin' OK, which is Frank out of Oklahoma. He has his own company. And then you have Brandon with Elite Earthworks. He owns his own company. You've got James, which is Gibson Landscape Construction. He's up in Canada. He owns his own company. There is a ton of opportunity in this industry within owning your own business, and that means you get to set your own schedule. You get to decide what work you're going to do. You're going to decide when you're going to work and how far out from home you're going to work. And if you want to take off for your daughter's soccer game, you can take off for your daughter's soccer game. So it's rare in other industries, especially in the white collar world, that you have that sort of opportunity. So I do want to be very honest with you, which you already know. If your dad's a heavy equipment operator, you already know you pull some serious hours and you work your ass off for that money in this industry. But if you're willing to put in that work, 100%, this is a great industry. Oh, Nick, you know it. I'm going straight to that case dealership, and I'm going to talk about every single reason you should buy a case. Like, why should you not buy a piece of equipment? Well, if it's not power tan, you shouldn't buy it. And if it is power tan, you should probably buy it. There's your whole video in a nutshell. So I don't even know why I should scratch that off my list. I shouldn't even make the video now. Yeah, James, you just said exactly what I did. It's long hours, but Dan, if you want more paving videos, I will deliver more paving videos. My old boss from when I sold equipment is now the sales guy for, I'm sure in some of those other videos you've seen the R&R asphalt on the trucks. That's the company he works for. I'm actually friends with the owner of the company. I can 100% set up some more paving videos for you. So I'm assuming since you're asking, that means you want them. So yes, we can do that. Yes, Little Sketchers, you're exactly right. It's a versatile machine. That's why I say as a new company. Now, I will say the one downside to a backhoe over starting with like a skid or a mini or something along those lines is the weight of the machine. If you start with a smaller machine, you can get away with pulling it behind just a regular pickup truck and then an equipment hauling trailer versus a backhoe. Unless you're planning on driving it to every job, you are absolutely going to have to buy a dump truck and a dual axle or tri-axle tag trailer. So your initial investment goes up substantially. That's one of the only downsides I could see for a first piece of equipment is it's not like you can just buy that machine and go do some stuff without having to haul off site. Like, you're committing to buying some sort of a large truck and some sort of a large trailer. So you're substantially higher on startup costs there. Nick. Oh, Nick. See, there went my respect, man. JCB. You're gonna pull the JCB card here. Come on. JCB. I worked as an equipment seller. I'm aware of JCB. That's all I can say about JCB backhoes. Come on, man. Come on. You got to bring out a stronger game than that. Especially if you want me to try your pink lemonade drink. Come on. Yeah, so Travis, if you're if you're good with the long hours and the hard work, man, there's so much opportunity in this industry. And by the way, if you got any questions, all of these guys here, Frank, Brandon, James, they'd be happy to answer questions for you. I am going to try to get my buddy Rick in here within the next 3 weeks or so to do a Q&A related to having your own business, and you're more than welcome to answer questions on that one too. But all of these guys would be willing to answer questions for you when it comes to owning your own company. Ooh, Brandon, that's why I hate snow. I hate it. I don't ever want to go back to snow removal. I do not miss those hours at all. Nick, I've been in the same boat, man. I just bum myself around. In fact, now I truly am a bum because I don't even go out and get paid for it. I just volunteer to go work for people. My buddy pays me, but when I go work for people out of town, I just volunteer my time if they'll let me film. So I truly am a bum. And it might put me on the street this year. We'll see what happens. If the channel doesn't take off, I may be coming at you live from a park bench somewhere here soon. So we'll see what happens. Little Sketchers, absolutely. That's just the economy is cyclical. We've been in a really, really nice run since the recovery from the recession back in 2008's when it started. You guys will have to help me. When did that end? Kind of like the 2010 roughly is when the economy really started popping back. So we've really been on this big uphill, and I feel like we're kind of roughly at the plateau of that. So 100%, I would say probably sometime within the next 5 to 7 years, we'll probably see some sort of a downturn, especially when it comes to new home construction. And that's why I will say, if you can work for a company that does government contracts, you're going to be a lot less prone to getting laid off and having issues when the economy starts to be on the decline, because roads are always going to need to be built. You're always going to have highways that are in disrepair. You're always going to have airports that need work done to them. Government buildings are going to continue to get built. So yes, that is one thing I do want to be very honest with guys, is this is a cyclical industry. You do have up times and you have down times. And so this business is full of guys that like to spend every dime of their paycheck. And I would really say save. Get you a nice healthy savings going, and that way if there is any economic downturn, you've got something to fall back on. You have a little cushion so that you can go find something else. And there's work out there. You're going to have to be creative sometimes, but there will be work out there. And that's yet another reason that when you are working for someone, you need to work your ass off. Do a good job, because that's going to make sure that you may survive without being laid off. You may be one of the only 2 guys left working, but if you're the best of the best, and you do really good work and you work hard for your employer, and you show up every day, then they're going to keep you around. So well, Frank, you do set your own hours. Now, those hours generally are more hours than you would work when you work for someone else. I won't argue with you there, but you made that choice. So you do technically set your own hours. Yeah, exactly, Frank. Exactly. Yeah, you just have a lot more of them. Oh. Yeah, Brandon nailed it. That's the state of the business right now, is there's more work out there than there are people to do the work. It's crazy the amount of projects that are being declined on a daily basis because there's just literally not enough people to set up crews to go do it. We're in a great spot economically right now. So Travis, there's nothing wrong with staying in roofing, man. So, we're all heavy equipment operators over here, but roofing is part of the trades too, and there ain't nothing wrong with sticking in roofing. If you want to do that, go pursue. This is what I've been telling all of the young guys that I've been talking to that really are worried about making big career decisions. Like, at the end of the day, money is convenient to have. I will not argue money is very nice to have. But at the end of the day, money's not going to bring you happiness. It really doesn't. And the older you get, the more you discover that is true. So what I will tell you more than anything is, don't chase a big paycheck. Chase what you enjoy doing. Chase something that you're passionate about. Because, like Frank and Brandon are laughing about, and James back and forth here about working the crazy hours. Why are they doing that? It's not because they're making millions of dollars every year. And if they are, by all means, that's awesome. But that's not the drive. That's not what's making them work those hours. What's making them work those hours is they love what they're doing. They go to work happy that they get to go to work and do what they do every day. And that's what drives all of us in the trade. So really, if you want to own the roofing company, dude, by all means, go for it and do it and be the best you can be at it. But at the same time, if your heart's not in roofing, don't go buy a roofing company. Don't go take over a roofing company and spend your entire life being miserable doing what you're doing. Go do something that you enjoy doing. So, thanks, James. We actually have decided as a family that within the next 3 or 4 days, we are on target to hit 5,000 viewers, and we are going to go celebrate by eating Mexican food now that restaurants are finally open here in Michigan. So, I think within the next, I'm going to be optimistic and say 2 days. In 2 days, I'm hoping to be eating Mexican food, celebrating 5,000 followers. So thank you. Which you're also doing really well. I can't remember what you're up to, but you're going up substantially on your viewership. So. And Frank, that's another good point for owning your own business. It's feast or famine. It's like, that's part of the economy, and that's part of being in this industry. It is feast or famine. You're either turning away work because you're so busy, or the phone hasn't rang in 6 months and you're worried that you might have to sell a piece of equipment to make the bills. So owning your own I will never say that owning your own company is easy. It is not. I owned a landscaping company for a while, and I finally threw in the towel because it was like, I'd rather work for someone and collect a paycheck. This is just, you come home from work to your other job of doing all of your office work, and then you have all of the stress of that company and managing the company and managing your jobs and bidding, and all of the everything is on you. So yeah, owning your own company, whew. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. I can't tell you guys enough how much I appreciate the support. You guys are why I do this channel, and hearing that feedback, that makes me keep going. AP, absolutely. You've got to be able to let stuff roll off your back. You've got to be able to recognize that guys are going to razz you and they're going to give you a hard time for the sake of doing it. And it's part of the industry. Oh, that's pretty slick, Nick. Getting a high-speed train line. They talked about doing that here in the U.S. for a long time, but we're Americans, and we love our diesel burning trucks too much to do high-speed rail, I think. So I think we've got a while before we see our first true high-speed line. We've got a couple short runs, but they've been talking about doing one across the southern portion of the U.S. that's going to connect the east and west coast, and I don't see it happening soon. That's right, James. 24/7. You're on call 24/7, but you get to set those hours. Good question, Brandon. I don't know, honestly, because I have no experience in that side of the business, so I would assume there's money in it. The problem is, I think it's one of those things where you'd have to go in, and it's not just erosion blanket or one aspect of the final cleanup of the job. It would be one of those things where you're responsible for going in. Generally on our jobs, the contractor that was laying down erosion blanket and stuff was also, they were responsible for hydro seeding. They were responsible for mulching any areas that needed to be mulched. They were almost a landscape type company. And so you couldn't just go in and say, hey, we'll lay erosion blanket, or we'll just do silt fence, or we'll just do, I don't even remember what they call the big straw stuff socks, but generally you're going to have to kind of offer the full package. So Brandon, there I would tell you, as far as not paying the bills, diversify. So start getting into, I don't know if you have any experience with concrete work, maybe doing some small patios, small sidewalks, doing some small residential grading jobs. If you have any landscape experience, maybe getting into some small landscape type stuff. I really need to get Rick on here because he does almost exactly what you're talking about. His primary side is the mulching, but he also supplements with a lot of other stuff. So Which Brandon is another good one. Elite Earthworks. You might reach out to him too. Go watch a couple of his videos. He's doing a lot of that too. He's got a lot of different jobs. He just did a big mulching job with a Fecon head, and he actually rented the equipment. And that might be a great way to start for you instead of committing to a $80,000 purchase right up front. Maybe rent for a couple jobs, test the water, see if the work is there, see if you can get the money that you want to for those projects. And then if the work is there, kind of step out on the limb and actually purchase something. Little Sketchers, so if you go way back into the archives, you will see that I started this channel this was back in the days when I was watching, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Vantages or Vantageous. I never knew how to pronounce his YouTube name, but they were a couple Canadian guys that had a YouTube channel that was just them operating machines. And I loved their channel because they did a lot of kind of talking. That's actually where I learned a lot of my techniques, is watching him, because he was real technical. He was all about production, and he ran a 385C hoe, so you're talking very slow cycle times, but you're moving a lot of material. And so he would get really technical with what he was doing and how to set up trucks and stuff like that. So if you dig way back into the archives, I started my channel way back then, and it was literally just my whole idea was maybe someone will want to watch me digging in the machine. Like, it was fun to just make videos. Fast forward another 5 or 6 years, I popped on YouTube one day and noticed that I magically had like 600 subscribers, 700 subscribers with the few videos I had. And this is before YouTube changed it to where you had to have 1,000 subscribers to monetize. So I monetized some videos and I started making, I don't know, it was piddly money. It was like $60 a month, but I was like, dude, $60 a month, I'll do that. So I started putting out more content, and then within like 3 or 4 months, YouTube changed their monetization policy and demonetized me because I was under 1,000 subscribers. So I was like, okay, well, I'm done with that. Fast forward another 2 or 3 years, and I log back in and I have like 1,100 subscribers. And I was like, what's happening? I'm not even doing anything and I'm getting subscribers. So I started making some videos again. That was when I was working with Dan's. The reality was, and I don't know how Brandon and Frank and James do it. Like, when you're doing a full-time job, it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time to create content and get it posted, especially when those guys don't do nearly the editing that I do. And that's not a point of bragging at all. That's just like my style, and that's what I like to do. But it takes a phenomenal amount of time. Like, each one of my videos, I probably spend about 4 hours editing. And so, like, to do that and have a full-time, like, crazy hours job was too much to keep up with. So I stopped posting again. And then when I lost my job back in March of last year, that's when I talked to my wife and I was like, look, what if we go push YouTube full-time? Like, we're making, at the time, I think I was making $70 or $80 a month, and that was with zero effort. And I was like, what if we go push it full-time? So I started doing that, and I didn't really have any direction for the channel. It was just me kind of recording people running equipment and me when I could, and I was going to call it good there. And then I went on one of these job sites, and I will give my wife credit. She had kind of talked to me about maybe giving it a direction of teaching, because I do enjoy teaching. And she said, why don't you try to teach guys getting into the trades? But where it really clicked in is I was actually with R&R Asphalt, the asphalt company I mentioned earlier. And they had a guy, I think he was like 18 or 19. And he goes, man, it would be so helpful to have a channel out there that just taught basic skills. He goes, when I got into this industry, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what to expect. Like, to be able to have that sort of information would be really helpful. And that's where it all kind of came together. And so if you go watch my video, can you hack it, or do you have what it takes to be what it's like to be a heavy equipment operator? I think that's what it's called. That was the video. That was the video where this channel all kind of clicked in my mind. And I went, I know exactly what I want to do. I want to make this a teaching resource for guys getting into the trades. But at the same time, I also want to do the fun videos, vlog style, that gets people excited to get into the trades. I want to show them how much fun you can have and like all the cool aspects of the trades. So that's now the driving force, is getting guys information so that they can get into the trades. And then once they get into the trades, I'm trying to give them a basic set of building blocks so that they can hit the ground without feeling totally lost when you get on the job site. So, and from here, who knows where it goes. I've got so many different avenues kind of racing around in my head of what direction we could take this. But that's kind of a brief synopsis of the channel. Going back up, Frank, I know, I'm sorry I've been chatting here, but Frank, absolutely, that is a commitment as a small business owner. You are going to lose a lot of personal time. Now you have the ability, because you're your own boss, to say F it for a day, and you suffer the consequences as the business owner. You have the ability to do that because you're the owner, but 9 times out of 10 you can't really afford to miss the work. So yes, that's a great point. It's hard owning your own company. It really is. Oh, James, absolutely. You got to be versatile to pay the bills. That's part of being a small business, and not really having the specialization to go dive full into something. You got to be a jack of all trades to an extent. So, oh, Nick, yeah, working in inner city, no thanks. I don't miss that at all. Yeah, see, Brandon, it sounds like you've got most of the services, so I don't see why you couldn't go market that. If you got a small, 5-6 man crew, go knock out some of these big highway projects. You can make some serious smack on those, because I know the restoration bill is pretty high on those jobs. Oh yeah, I started out in landscaping too, Brandon. I don't miss those days. I still do some of it sometimes when I have to. I helped Rick with that big job, but I don't miss it. I like hogging material. I like big jobs, but landscaping gets so stinking tedious. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate that. So it is a ton of time to edit, but that's where, see, I'm this weird breed, because I'm in this industry that's like not artsy at all. It's all of these like rough blue collar guys that work their ass off, and they're gritty, and I enjoy that aspect. I love that aspect, but I also really enjoy the artistic aspect of making films. And so I follow a lot of these guys on YouTube that are all about making cinematic vlogs and all of this stuff, and I'm like, that doesn't really apply to our industry. And so that's kind of how I've developed this weird mesh where I have the fancy editing and stuff like that, because it's fun for me. But it's a full-time gig doing that sort of video content. I could not own, in fact, my wife and I have talked about it, if I end up having to go get another job because this doesn't kind of take off before my money runs out, the quality of the videos will definitely go down. So yeah, James, I would say that's pretty average for most of the guys I talk to that do construction type videos. Finkel, thanks for watching, man. Like, that's what makes it worth it. It's one thing to edit and pour all this love into these things, and that's not even on the editing side. I will say that for Brandon and Frank and James too. Like, when you throw your stuff out there on the internet, you're kind of putting a piece of you out there, and it's really awesome to get the feedback from people when they appreciate that you've done that and appreciate what you're doing. So editing aside, like, thank you for watching. Thank you guys. You guys are why we do this. Our subscribers are why we do this. All right, Nick, enjoy yourself. Good luck with the snow. Try to get some footage, man, of the blower. Get the blower. Gotta get the blower. Yeah, Brandon, so when I was doing my full-time work for especially that 2-week job, like, I just had a stockpile of footage. Now, luckily, what I had done, I do this weird balance thing. At least last summer I did, to where I'll try to work with someone for a week or so, and then take at least a week or two off so I can edit through all that footage, and then I'll get a queue of videos built up, and then I can go take off for another week and go work, and then I'll work through that queue, and that way I'm always 2 or 3 weeks ahead on my editing. But there was a time there in the summer where I was helping Rick on that 2-week long landscape job, where I had like 2.5 weeks worth of footage just sitting on my hard drive because I couldn't touch it. I literally had no time to touch it. And I was just waiting for YouTube. I got down to like where I was only 2 days forward on my editing. And so I would work like a full weekend trying to get caught up at least 2 or 3 days out, so that would afford me the time to actually do the heavy intensive editing. So it's fun. So it's the dance. It's the dance that we all get to play. So AP, thanks for watching. Like I said, thanks. I appreciate you guys. The fact that we have this much interaction in here in the comments, and you guys, you know, hanging out with me on your Sunday night before you got to go to work the next day, like, absolutely, I appreciate it. Yeah, Brandon, that's true. You get, it's stressful having guys working for you, especially when you start getting into a bigger crew. That's a whole other ball of stress. You almost have to drop everything else and just manage people at that point. And I hear you, Frank. Especially that, like I said, I'm in such a privileged position. I do not, it's not lost on me that I'm very privileged that I don't have to go work a full-time job and try to keep up with this, at least right now. And I can't imagine doing what you guys do. I could not do that. So hardcore, like, you guys are awesome for being able to maintain a channel while you are working full-time. And yes, James, hardscaping, good Lord, especially doing boulder walls. Ugh, I hate it. It's so freaking tedious. That's why I don't like doing like residential work at all, even when it comes to finish grades and stuff. It's so tedious. I like hogging material. I like getting in a D6 and just rutting the place up. Like, that's fun. Getting in a 349 and just baling material all day long, or putting in pipe, or that's fun work. But when you got to get tedious and it's got to be perfect and you got to backblade everything out, it's annoying. So Dylan, great question. Thanks for joining us. The biggest thing contractors are going to be looking for these days is, are you willing to work and start at the bottom? And are you going to be in it for the long haul? Like, can you take a reaming from someone without getting upset and walking off the job? And so if you go into it saying, look, I realize I'm going to start at the bottom because I don't know anything. I have no problem being on the end of a shovel. My goal long term is I want to become an operator. I want to work myself into the seat. Those are the sort of trigger words. And it's great that, by the way, this is like the 3rd or 4th time this has been asked tonight, and that's fantastic. Don't feel bad. But it's perfect timing, because I actually have a video tomorrow coming out that is building your resume for getting into this industry. So, and I'm going to talk more about this in the video tomorrow. But those are the sort of trigger words that you want to talk about in an interview that's going to make a contractor go, okay, this guy's in it because he wants to learn the trade and he's engaged, not because he wants a quick paycheck to you know, get something for the weekend. And that's a terrible problem we have in the industry right now. Believe it or not, it is really common for guys to hire in for a week, and by Thursday they want their paycheck. You haven't even been here a week. Why are you asking about your paycheck? Like, sit your ass down and do your work, and you'll get paid on Friday like everybody else on the crew. But that's the sort of mentality that the industry's facing right now from a lot of guys. So when you can go in there and tell them that you're going to work, like, that's what's going to catch their attention. Thanks, James. That's actually, so I've got that video. I think, depending on which one you saw, was it the adult Legos video or was it the 2-week retaining wall? Because I've got 2 videos out where I did retaining walls. One is a 2-week long project and it was huge, and the other one was just a 2-day project. It wasn't that bad. So yeah. See, Finkel, not Filky. Finkel is in here bragging about owning 2 businesses. What 2 businesses do you own that you're able to do this and still stay up until 10:20 at night commenting on somebody else's YouTube video? That's insanity, son. You need to go to bed. Like, I'm tired for you thinking about that. And James, I totally agree. The comments are fun, especially when you get these fired up old salty guys that try to tell you you have no idea what you're talking about, you young pup. Like, those are the ones that make me laugh. So Brandon, how does your wife like the YouTube channel and the amount of time it takes away from her, out of curiosity? She does a great job supporting you, by the way. It's awesome not only that she supports you in the channel, but that she's also out there on job sites with you. Like, that is, you are a lucky man to have that sort of support from your wife. That is awesome. So Tommy, I have thought about doing that. And I go back and forth. Like, there's part of me that really, as another revenue stream for myself to kind of help me not have to go get a real job, if you will, has thought about doing something like that where you would pay for a subscription. And I'm really on the fence about that, just because, like, my goal for this channel and so much of what I do is making this accessible for everyone, to where you don't have to pay a bunch of money. It's really helping people get into the trades. But then I flip around and go, okay, but I do provide a lot of that content. Maybe I could have a step up of really getting in depth that you would pay for. I've thought about it. I have thought about it. I don't know. I'm really on the fence about it. I'm still thinking about it. I wrestle with that one a fair amount. So, great question. Undecided. Yeah, James, that's the problem. It's so hard to find people you don't have to babysit, and then you have the challenge of, when you do find those people, keeping those people, because, you know, the honest truth is, most of the people you don't have to babysit are also people who recognize their worth and their value, and they're always looking to up their career, and they should be. Like, that's what this is all about, is progressing as an individual and progressing your career. And, you know, a lot of guys don't want to continue to sit around at a company that's this size when they could step up to the next size company and become a superintendent or a foreman for a large crew. And it's always a challenge. People are the biggest challenge in this industry, for sure. Yeah, James, I'm with you. Yeah, natural stone. I hate working with natural stone. Yeah, and Brandon, yeah, no one cares as much as you do. That's 100%. That's the hardest part of having other people, and that's even running the machines. Like, you've gone and spent $80,000 on a brand new skid steer, and you baby the snot out of it. But then you get some other guy, even if he's a really good operator, he's never going to treat that machine the way that you do, because he didn't pay 80 grand for it. It's just a machine to him. So, yeah, employees. I gotta get caught up in these comments. See, you guys are already shifting topics and everything on me. Ryan, that's the way to do it. You gotta turn that negative into a positive, and that's the way to do it. Get out there and work if you're gonna be stuck at home. Yep. Finkel, good God, that is terrible. That is a curse. My God. So I am the opposite. If I don't get like 8 hours, so my kids, I have a 4 and a 6-year-old, and they actually call me bad dad at night. And it started with my 6-year-old. He was, I think, 4 at the time. And my wife asked him why at night he always goes to her side of the bed when she wakes, when he goes to wake one of us up. And he goes, because I don't want to deal with bad dad. So that's my nickname for me waking up early or in the middle of the night, is I'm bad dad. So I have to have my sleep. I can't do little sleep. I'm terrible. Yeah, that's good. So it's awesome, Brandon, that she supports you, but it's also awesome and equally important that you recognize her needs too. That's a great marriage. That's awesome. Yeah, James, I only saw your wife on that one video in the bathroom, and she didn't look super thrilled to be there. Ah, that's nice, James. Yeah, getting someone to back in the yeah. Yeah, Brandon, that's awesome. You did luck out. That's fantastic that she's that involved. See, Ryan, that's the way to be. And I will tell you this: those employers will take care of you. So, I used to take my WA320, the Komatsu loader I used to run when I was doing pipe, and I would every morning wipe the cab down. And I think I mentioned this in my last live stream. My trade secret is go out there and get the orange scented pledge, because not only does it polish the snot out of the cab and make it look super nice, but it's got this like anti-static, like it actually repels dust, so it's really easy to wipe down for 2 or 3 days afterwards. And then it will like, you can get the floor, as you guys are familiar, like the floor of the cab never gets really clean. It never loses that dirty color. So if you spray it really nice with a nice coat of that pledge, it actually soaks into that dirt and lifts it up, and it makes it really nice and shiny. It's really spiffs up the cab. So I would wipe down my cab every morning, and I would shine it with my pledge. And the company I was working for noticed that, and it was probably about a month or two after one of the guys noticed that I was doing that to my cab every day that I got upgraded to my Cat 938, which was an overall much nicer, much newer loader. So great, that's a great way to be, Ryan, and owners will absolutely notice that. So so you're fresh to the industry, AP. That's good. That's good. Oh, that's awesome, Brandon. That's good. I'm looking forward to that one. So the biggest one I've gotten my wife in was that Cat 924 that my buddy owns right down the road. And she did good at it. I was impressed at how well she picked it up. So that was fun. She was carting me millions while I was putting them down with the dozer. Yeah, James, get some footage of the of her running that wing plow. That'll be a good video. Holy crap, guys, is it really 10:30? We gotta start shutting this sucker down. Speaking of wives calling, like, good lord, you guys are keeping me up late. I'm not gonna get all of my beauty sleep. That's a good question, James. What is the verdict on that, Brandon? Because you seem to really be liking that 2150. You planning on maybe buying that sucker? We got a new excavator coming? 327. Ooh, AP, man, you're killing me. Yeah, that's the problem with equipment. It's just so dang expensive. Like, that was one thing I didn't really fully appreciate until I started selling equipment, is how dang expensive it is. So I hate to do this to you guys, but at the same time, I have to go hang out. I have to go hang out with my wife. James, no, I did not. So if you go back to the first like 5 minutes of this, I actually go through that whole experience. Or if you want to hang tight, I am currently editing I have a whole video being edited right now of my entire failed trip to Kentucky. So stay posted, but no, I did not, because I ended up getting sick. I'll just leave it at that. It was miserable. So anyway, all that to say, I'm going to go ahead and shut down my portion of this. So what I'll do is I'll leave the chat up for 10 minutes or so you guys can wind down. But I have to go hang out with my wife because I didn't realize it was already 10:30. That's how exciting this has been, is time has flown and it is 10:30 at night. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out. If you guys aren't familiar, I do this every Sunday night that I am in town. I didn't last week because I was in Kentucky. But I will be here next week at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll do it again. So you guys have a good evening. Brandon, James, Frank, Jimmy, and Jimmy shows up at the very end. Dude, Jimmy, where have you been? I appreciate you guys hanging out, but I have to go. You got in too late, man. We'll see you guys on the next one. You guys have a good night.